A lot of alone today. A lack of toughness. The San Jose Sharks' blown lead. Alex DeBrincat's vanishing act. The eclipse burning people's eyes. And the leap day threw him off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you forgot the Costa lock.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget that one. That's
a
good one.
Implied with the Capitals game. All right, let's get to Rich in New Baltimore. Rich, good morning. You're on 97.1.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I feel like this team is at a crossroads. Obviously, I'm not happy with Lalonde. I don't, hopefully there's a better option out there, but, seeing Austin Czarnik, a fifth-line center between Kane and DeBrincat, why would Kane come back to that? And I put a lot of it on Yzerman, too, because I feel like Compher clearly isn't a second-line center. A lot of these guys, I don't see them coming back. Sprong, I feel like we got three defensemen, Wallman, Evanson, Sider. You're going to bring up Johansson, just what's this roster construction going to be and what's the path forward? And is there a second-line center in the system? Danielson, is he going to step in and provide the puck to DeBrincat and Kane so that we get the maximum out of them? I just feel like we got a lot of tough decisions to make. I could bring back Lyon as a backup goalie, but is Kosa ready? What do you do with Husso, who can't get on the ice, and we got another year left with him? So there's a lot of tough decisions to make, and I don't feel as optimistic as a lot of people because I don't feel that Yzerman put us in a great position this year. I feel like Kopp's a nothing burger, all of it. So
yeah. This is a pretty good read of the situation. You want to talk up the middle depth, we'll start there. I got some thoughts on the goalie, too. Up the middle depth, it's probably Kasper and Danielson you're hoping long-term can be a 2C, or, hey, fingers crossed, their first-round picks, maybe more. Probably not next year, though. And then you look at the fact that it is a glut of guys who are probably third centers. Kopp, Compher has been a second-line guy, but it's fair to question him. And then the young guys, center depth, it's a bunch of 3Cs right now. The goalie situation, Kosa, it's probably a year away still. Does he get a sprinkle? Does he play a little next year? Maybe, but that means you're, once again, going Husso, Lyon, and maybe a third guy for insurance.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a year that you take the big leap is going to come from another leap from Raymond, full year of Edvinsson, having a Kasper or a Danielson or one of those guys, a Johansson, a young defenseman, step out into the light and play like a guy Yzerman drafted him to be. And it maybe Kane comes back and you have a little cap space and you make a phone call to Steven Stamkos. I don't know, but the idea here is it's got to keep getting better. You can't plateau here. Felt like falling just shy of the playoffs is being celebrated by too many people, and I appreciate a guy like that who calls in and says it's not all rosy. There's still a lot of work that has to be done.
Oh, there's a ton of work, and I don't think anybody is denying that there's got to be work done. There's got to be work on the roster. There's got to be work on the staff. And what's the reaction going to be to Red Wings fans if Steve Yzerman does the same thing that he did with Blashill and brings him back for another year? And we don't necessarily know exactly how many years are on his contract, but it was reported earlier that it was a 3-year contract. So he's going into the last year of his deal. He certainly hasn't warranted an extension.
Lame duck is weird. Not to saying it can't happen in hockey, but yeah, the alternative is you move on and find another coach. There's going to be coaches fired in the next week here, or at the end of the playoff run for another team. Hockey turnover for coaches.
It's rapid.
Yeah. Adam in Dearborn, you're on 97.1.
Hey, guys. I'm with you, Costa. Going 8-15 down the stretch when you have a 8-point lead and then the wild card chase, it's just unacceptable. But to be fair, this is the first time they've played meaningful hockey in March and April in about 8 years. I don't think the whole younger core was accustomed to it, and now they know that it's a different beast when you play that last month and a half. And like that last caller was saying, there's going to be a lot of roster changes in the next, couple months leading up to next season with the coach and even players. I think Yzerman needs to really look at his core on who he wants with this team. And I think he needs to make deals for, younger stars that are, or even veteran stars. You mentioned Stamkos. I wouldn't mind him here. I know he's getting older, but they need to address the goalie situation, I feel like. And then also, I feel like the last month of the season, it's always been a talk of just net, front, and presence. I wish Soderblom was up there, or if he was ready, because I feel like he could be a really big piece in terms of being in front of the net and creating havoc.
Big body. He had debuted 2 years ago, it feels like. Haven't really heard from him since. Corin, you're on 97.1.
So I was thinking about 2 years ago, Lions in the season 9-8. They blow a game to Carolina. Now we win the game against Green Bay. We're 9-8. We started the season off 1-6. If Dan Campbell would have came out and said, "Hey guys, we overachieved this year," it would be a freaking uproar. I cannot imagine. I don't know how anyone can support this coach coming out publicly and saying that. If he's saying that publicly, what is he saying to the guys in the room, right? And I don't know if you guys remember the first interview you had with him at the beginning of the season. You asked him about what expectations were, and he was really kind of choppy on that too. He was kind of like, just want to develop young players. You asked him if you thought the team had a chance to make the playoffs or if they could, and he was kind of like, he was very non-committal about it, even at the beginning of the season. So, to me, he's got to go because he cannot have a guy like that leading your room when you have a chance to win. Because if he doesn't adjust in December, January, February, when you have a chance to win, then how can you win with a guy like that?
It's a really good phone call. Appreciate it. Let's get to Heather with the news.
Well, this is a cool story. A Genesee County woman was told that money was coming her way during a tarot card reading, and it turns out that she had a winning $500,000 lottery ticket right there in her purse. Didn't even know it. So this woman says that she purchases a ticket every week. She usually goes to the same store when she buys these, scratch-off lottery tickets. But this time, the time she won, she was on her way to this tarot reading. So she went to a different store, purchased a bunch of tickets, threw them in her purse, then went on her way to the reading. That's when she was told money was coming into her life. And she thought, how is this going to happen? I don't get how this is going to be possible. Went home later that day, scratched off her tickets, won $500,000. So she said,
wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So she said, this is it. This is exactly what it is. She says she's going to use the money to pay off her car, take a cruise with a friend, and then save whatever is left over. Pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Very, very cool. Not so cool. A pedestrian was hit by a vehicle and critically injured in the Shelby Township Target parking lot. Yeah, you wonder how fast this car
was going.
Yeah. They say it happened Sunday night at the store on 26 Mile near Van Dyke. The person was walking through the lot when they were hit. The driver did stay at the scene, cooperating with police. The whole thing still is under investigation. A Texas mom. She is behind bars after allegedly leaving her young kids home alone for almost a week.
A week?
While she went on a cruise.
How old are these kids?
Well, there's two of them, 6 and 8. Yes.
A week.
29-year-old woman. She was arrested on 2 charges. I'll tell you how she was handling it all. She was arrested on 2 charges of child endangerment after she left her kids home alone in her apartment in Houston for 6 days. So police say the kids were left home on April 4th, and police found them on April 9th after neighbors called to say, hey, we're a little concerned by what we're hearing going on in this apartment. When police got there, they said it was completely in disarray. Like the apartment was not together. There was also a strong smell of urine in the apartment because, 6 and 8, you can use the toilet, but you might not be getting there overnight. Lots of issues, right, going on. They said there was trash and food scattered everywhere. And the kids said, hey, mom's on a cruise. We're just here by ourselves. The mom was trying to take care of them through a video. So she had a camera in the apartment so she could talk with them and watch them.
She was there virtually.
She was watching them over a camera while she was sailing in the Caribbean. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like she DoorDashed them food.
I was just going to bring that up.
She was just watching them and could communicate with them through the camera.
So how were they eating?
So she would make sure that they were okay. Okay. That they weren't
alive.
Yeah. Yes.
Yikes.
This is awful. So the kids have been removed from the apartment. They are now under the care of a relative. Oh, people. After 13 seasons in the NBA, Blake Griffin is calling it quits. So he made the news official on social media, saying that he was thankful for a long and successful career. He spent more than half of his career with the Los Angeles Clippers. He spent 3+ years here with the Detroit Pistons, and then 2 with the Brooklyn Nets, and a single season with the Boston Celtics.
How do you view Blake Griffin?
He could jump.
Right, he jumped over the Kia at the dunk contest.
Exactly, yeah.
He came out of Oklahoma. He was a high flyer. What I remember though is his body broke down. He did evolve his game, and he became a little better passer, a little better shooter. He gave what was left of his knee to try to get the Pistons in the playoffs. It was the last time we had playoffs at LCA.
Yeah.
The only time we've had playoffs at LCA.
The only thing I remember about him is that he dated Kendall Jenner.
That's right.
And we might have seen her here in Detroit. I don't know if she ever came to a game or if she was spotted. That's the only thing. When I hear Blake Griffin, I think of the Kardashians or the Jenners.
It's Heather with the news. Coming up next, the hammer. Maybe more of a toy hammer. Laid down on Michigan football. We'll get to the sanctions, the punishment. Do you care? It's 97.1.
Hey, playoff season is here, both the NBA and the NHL. Baseball season's rolling along, so why not dive into the best pool in history? That's Stadium Swim. It's located at Circa Resort and Casino, and you can catch all of the biggest games that I just talked about at a viewing experience built for sports fans. Chill in one of the 6 pools on 3 different levels for a perfect view of the massive 40-foot tall, high-definition screen at Stadium Swim. It's America's favorite place to watch all your sporting events. Swim-up bars, Insta-ready selfie walls, and one non-stop sports party every day. Score your perfect game day spot with cozy day beds, private cabanas, or grab a lounge at the center of the action. You can reserve your spot today. It's 365 days of sports poolside, and it's located at Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. Stadium Swim, all sports, all seasons. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com.
3.3 seconds left. This team, right? But then seconds later, that team, the Capitals, empty netter. I know people go, why was the goalie pulled? Philly needed to win in regulation. They didn't know that they had already been eliminated. That's the situation. Of course, it's the most absurd way to lose. The Wings missed the playoffs by 1 point on the most absurd way in a tie game. A team they were scoreboard watching pulled their goalie and gave up an empty netter. Let's get to the phones, and then we'll talk Michigan football. Nathan, last word on the Wings today. You're on 97.1.
Hey, guys. So I have a weird kind of theory. Well, not a theory, really, an outlook. One of my biggest complaints about Yzerman and the Red Wings is that they draft guys and they leave them in the minors to kind of over-ripen. Now, my theory doesn't apply to goalies so much, but if you look across the league for the last several years, guys who spend 1 or less years in the minors have a huge chance to be a star in the league. Guys who spend 2 or more years in the minors can be an all right player, and guys who spend 3 or more years in the minors, I say they're in the category of don't unpack your bags. So you can look at it. It's true, and we have so many guys that are 2, 3, 4 years in the minors, and as far as I'm concerned, like that's an indictment on management, and I'm just really not as hopeful as a lot of Yzerbots are.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think you're right. Like Seider flew through the system. Raymond flew through the system. Those guys look legit, right? Edvinson has flown through the system. It's the guys that end up there for 2, 3, you said more than 3 years becomes, okay, you're just a roster filler. You're just a depth piece. And you need those guys too.
But there's also a reason why they are and they don't become stars. They weren't stars to begin with.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They
were
didn't
never
have star
expected
potential.
to be. They were third-round picks or fourth-round picks. You need some to fill out the roster, but everybody questions where are the stars coming. It's got to be guys like Edvinson and Raymond and Seider, and the other first-round picks they've made are Kosa, the goalie. Goalies take a minute. Danielson and Casper, the centers up the middle. Those guys got to be not just roster filler third-line guys, but second, and hopefully one could be a top
high
center.
Producers.
Exactly. And then there's this Axel Sandin Pellikka, who everybody loves, offensive defenseman from Sweden, another first-round pick for Yzerman. Those are the guys that got to pan out and be stars. Like, those are, 7, 8 guys?
Yeah.
5 to 6 of them got to be, like, stars.
Yeah, and hopefully they are good enough to be able to fly through the system and be impact players as soon as next year.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Michigan football here. We've done a lot of Wings today, rightfully so. This kind of feels like a Lions Monday, right? It's a postmortem, a lot to say, a lot of passion. Appreciate all of it this morning. Michigan football, I did want to get, especially your thoughts on this, John. Michigan admitting it was more than a cheeseburger. Go along with the NCAA. They've admitted some wrongdoing. They've been punished with probations, fines, and recruiting restrictions for incidents involving COVID recruiting and coaches who were working outside of their parameters.
Yeah.
Okay. Do the punishments fit the crime? And then bigger question for you and all Michigan fans. Clearly, you can't claim you're a clean program, but do you really care when it leads to winning a national championship?
Yeah, I think everybody. Well, I can say I do care that these happened, and I think it makes it a lot easier that Coach Harbaugh is not there anymore. You're no longer trying to defend a coach that is on staff. The question I have is, who are the other 4 coaches? They mentioned 5, and I think we can all do the math and say one of them was Harbaugh, but who are the other 4? Where are they now? Yeah, the show cause.
I would assume, not been reported, Sherrone Moore was suspended last year. I would assume he would be one of the coaches they would be looking at with a show cause. Can't confirm it's him, but I mean, that'd be my guess. And you're right, who are the other ones? I don't know. People are waiting for a hammer to come down. This is not including any of the sign stealing stuff. And I don't know.
Right, this is for the initial suspension that Jim Harbaugh served last year for the first 3 games.
Yes. So this is the full scope, full punishment of that from the NCAA. That is now case closed. I know Ward had a quote yesterday. We can move forward. There is still the other incident, sign stealing, Connor Stallions, that Harbaugh was later suspended for, that has not had punishment from the NCAA. If you're already on probation for this and then they add more on top of it, do you get hit harder? Will we see scholarship reductions or some form of additional punishment?
Well, it'll all depend on when they actually come down with that. Are they still on probation at that point? These don't happen quickly. If it happens in another 2-3 years, like what impact will that have, knowing that this happened, and at that time it's going to be so long ago?
Well, and that's why I asked the question, do you care? I know there's a reputation of the University of Michigan that takes a hit when you are a cheater, when you get punished by the NCAA for breaking multiple rules, multiple violations over multiple years. That hurts your reputation. But would you trade a little bit of reputation for trophies in the trophy case? And that's an individual question for Michigan fans. 248-539-9797. We know this about you, John. You are Mr. Morality. You don't want to compromise your morality. You won't even speed on the highway. So to you, the answer is the ends don't justify the means.
No, I mean, you don't want to get there and be labeled a cheater. Now, I don't want to go down the road right now because the investigation is ongoing. We've talked ad nauseum about the sign stealing. And did Jim Harbaugh know or not? He still maintains that he didn't know anything, and I don't think he did.
He was held responsible, though, as the leader of the football team.
Yeah, he's the leader. He's the head of the program. He is the guy that has to answer all the questions. The buck stops. We talk about the buck stopping with Malone. The buck stops with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach.
248-539-9797. The idea here is sign stealing, not yet, case closed. This stuff, case closed, they cheated. Now, these aren't level ones, and they were punished, I feel like, according to level two. These are 2s and 3s?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they were punished accordingly to level 2s and level 3s, right?
Yeah, and everybody wants to know, what does probation mean? Well, it means in the next 3 years, we're going to be watching, don't do anything. It also means in terms of the recruiting restrictions, a limited number or a reduced number of official visits. And in an era of... yes, players still want to know, what coach am I playing for? What system am I going to be in? What's the school like? And we can always debate how much of a percentage is going to vary by athlete. But I think the number one factor anymore, at least the highest percentage of that decision, is going to be, how much can you pay me? So NIL.
Can you minimize
the impact,
the damage, or the impact of the punishments?
Sure, you can. Yeah.
I feel like if you're a Michigan fan, you had heard for years you couldn't beat Ohio State. And there was always talk of Ohio State cutting corners down there in Columbus. And there was always the talk about the SEC cutting corners down there. And I don't know. I can't speak as a Michigan fan, but I'd imagine that national title run is pretty sweet. I'd imagine winning 3 straight Big Ten titles, pretty sweet. I'd imagine if all that comes down is, we can't have as many visits and we're on double secret probation, I can't imagine Michigan fans have a lot of regret as to how
double secret probation.
It's just regular probation.
It's regular probation.
Yeah.
I love the drama that you put on it, though. Double secret probation.
My point
makes
is,
it sound even worse.
It's not that big a deal. So if I'm a Michigan fan, I kind of feel like the ends justified the means. Like I'll have those memories forever. I got to watch my team bludgeon Ohio State 3 straight years, 3 straight Big Ten titles. I got to see them beat Alabama in the Rose Bowl in epic fashion. And then I got to watch him beat Washington on the biggest stage and celebrate a perfect season. Okay. And even if the sign stealing were to end up being tacked onto this, and because you're already on probation, they were to lose scholarships over it. Hypothetical, John. I feel like Michigan fans, maybe I'm painting with a broad brush, would be okay with that. Now, you have to get off the moral high ground a little bit, which maybe they're not okay with, but all said and done, I think you're okay with it.
Well, it all depends on what they end up saying about the sign stealing, which is completely different than these allegations. And how much did these infractions impact the ultimate outcome of games?
I don't think sign stealing is why they beat Alabama.
No, I'm talking about these allegations. How much did these allegations impact games? I know everybody wants to jump to the sign stealing, and I appreciate your motivation, but
that is the most polite way you could have said that.
But these allegations, how much did they actually help them win games?
This initial batch, you're saying the buying the recruit a cheeseburger outside of the
right,
rules.
And watching guys on Zoom as they observing
COVID,
workouts.
Yeah. How much did that? Well, so depends who the recruits were and how transformative they were for your program, and did it seal the deal in landing them?
Right, and so there's just more information that we don't know. How impactful were some of these guys? Did these guys end up ultimately choosing Michigan? And were they impactful players?
Do we know who the cheeseburger was bought for? That's not public?
I'm not I don't know that information.
Okay.
If it's out there, it's not something that I've seen.
Okay. I don't know that I've seen it definitively reported either, but like that would matter in terms of like, did it actually help them win Big Ten titles or not? Because COVID was right around the time where things changed. And if it was an impact player, offense, defense, trenches, quarterback, running back, receiver, anybody who made a difference for the football team, then it nudged them and pushed them in the right direction.
Or was it a recruit that was already committed? And this is something that happened while they were on campus at that time.
If you're a Michigan fan, we'll wrap with this, and of course, we'll read some more ticket text on the wings and everything else we've touched on. But if you're a Michigan fan, this is batch 1 of 2. Batch 1 seems to be slap on the wrist, you're going to be all right, you're going to move on. Batch 2 is where things could get sticky, but as we sit right now, I don't think there should be really any regret if you're a Michigan fan. But you can answer for yourself. It's 97.1.
Hey, Founders Brewing Company has been making high-quality beers right here in Michigan for over 25 years. With a focus on using the highest quality ingredients, you can always count on Founders to deliver extraordinary quality in everything they release. With that focus on quality, they set out to create a beer that lets you have it all. With All Day IPA, here is what you get. Refreshing and deliciously flavorful, easy drinking, and high quality. All Day IPA is an IPA that is naturally brewed with an array of malts, grains, and hops, creating a delicious citrusy taste and a clean finish. It's the perfect beer for anyone looking to make the ordinary extraordinary and the good times great. Speaking of great times, All Day IPA is the perfect beer for anyone on game day. Visit foundersbrewing.com to find All Day IPA. All Day IPA, it's all in the taste. Founders Brewing Company, Grand Rapids, Michigan. For 21 years old or older, please drink responsibly.
Without Jim Harbaugh, Michigan more cooperative, and a decision and agreement was reached with the NCAA. Michigan admitting it was more than a cheeseburger, probation, fines, and recruiting restrictions following some of the COVID dead period conduct with their coaches.
And just to clarify, too, I don't think Michigan ever said it was just a cheeseburger.
Right. But
that was something that was generated on message boards and through the media.
Right, but it is fair to say, accurate statement, Michigan admitted it was more than a cheeseburger. Not that they ever claimed
Correct,
it was.
yes. Yeah, never claimed it was.
They did cop to some accountability here with the NCAA and were handed what Greg called an insignificant punishment.
Does not move the needle for me, man. I've seen a lot of memes. You know the meme, the SpongeBob meme where the guy's sleeping and then the news comes out and you awake? Well, I saw that, but the guy's still sleeping, right?
Yeah.
I saw, Homer Simpson falling asleep with the Michigan hat and the national title trophy. Like, this to me does not – the punishment is insignificant next to winning a national championship.
Well, that's the key here. That's why I asked. Like, okay, you're not, quote, clean anymore, but you won a national title. Do you really care? And if I'm a Michigan, I don't think I care.
1-0 binary world, yes, no. My answer is no.
And I think the concern, if there is any here, would be that you're on probation, which doesn't mean a hill of beans much of anything, unless you have more stuff coming, and we do think there is more coming with the sign stealing and the Stallion stuff. Now, Harbaugh is not a part of this anymore. He's out. He was the level 1 stuff. He's not cooperating. He's in the NFL. Michigan's trying to move forward. That's what Ward said yesterday. We want to move forward. There is still one more domino. Ticket texters are saying, well, I've seen this rumor. They believe the cheeseburger was purchased for J.J. McCarthy. I don't think that's been 100% confirmed. That's been rumor. If it was J.J., is there anybody more significant to Michigan's turnaround, any one player than the quarterback who converted all those third downs and made the big I'm just, if it is.
But I will ask this question then, too. He made his decision on where he's going to go because he got a cheeseburger?
Swiss, provolone.
Okay, come on.
Sharp white cheddar. He did decommit and recommit during the COVID dead period. I'm pretty sure that's confirmable.
I don't think he decommitted. He was the one he was the one along with Donovan that was very vocal about keeping the class together.
Oh, I know he was actively trying to keep guys once he was on board.
Yeah.
So, a couple more ticket texts. 248-539-9797. Tarnished national title. Reads a ticket text. John, you knew we were going to get some of these.
Sure.
Harbaugh leaves the team in shambles. Win tainted. Michigan loses their soul chasing a title. Was not signed Mike Valeni, but I think we could maybe draw some comparisons. You want to see if that number checks out? Michigan fans should absolutely care, even if only because when the Stallion stuff comes down, it's going to be that much harder because you're already on probation. What's to care about, reads a ticket texter. Contacting a recruit during a dead period, who cares? These infractions are meaningless to me as well as the sign stealing. And then we get to go down the rabbit hole. It's literally not against the rule, blah, 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 blah. Every time they've shown Connor next to Harbaugh, he's never talking to Harbaugh. Harbaugh wouldn't have known. I'm so over it, Hans, the Uber driver.
Oh, Hans. I wonder if Franz is there with him.
Well, one thing about this, too, this continually gets labeled as sign stealing. It's not sign stealing,
which was
that
allowed.
Is against the rules. That is allowed. It's illegal scouting.
Yes.
So what's the punishment and advantage, John, as you like to go to, of the delta between illegally scouting and, as we are led to believe, coaches get these sideline tapes and they get the information with the signs ahead of the games anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Texter says it was JJ. We all know it. Decommitted and recommitted during COVID. Too obvious. The best thing that could have happened, it's going to drive Michigan fans nuts every time someone says, yeah, but you had to cheat to do it. It's going to be fun trolling Michigan fans. Well, that's saying the quiet part out loud.
Sure.
That's a huge part of this. Costa stopped acting like you're not a Michigan fan. You might not be a slappy, but you bleed blue deep down inside.
Oh, fire up chips.
Doug, we were just talking about the Michigan stuff, the first wave of this NCAA punishment. What's your take on it?
I think if you take your medicine when it's due. I mean, there's no point in making excuses. They negotiated a deal. You take your punishment and move on. I talked to people yesterday, and they said, look, there's a newfound commitment to cutting back on distractions, and that probably comes with a different head coach. As good as a head coach as Jim Harbaugh was, there was always sidebar stories. I mean, did you see the thing with him in the RV?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's in an RV park. People don't know who he is. He's like, I work with the Chargers. And people are like, okay, what do you do? He's like, I coach them. He's in an RV park. But
he's in a universe.
It's very Harbaugh. Yeah.
So the idea that they want a lot of this stuff, they really need to straighten some things up, and there's a commitment to doing that.
Red Wings on the agenda today, I mean.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Yep. Yep.
Had you guys talked about the possibility that they could go empty net?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I brought up why not stagger the games.
Oh.
My reasoning wasn't for that, but boy, that sure sounds smart now.
Wait, what's your reason? Why do you want to stagger? Just for your own enjoyment?
I just because I kind of like when you think about the NCAA tournament, they stagger the games.
Yeah.
And we're at the end of the season. And even the NFL will try to manipulate the schedule a little bit to shift games in the last week if they know playoff implications and stuff like that. I just thought it would have been interesting.
Think about it.
But I wasn't smart enough to think of the real reason why, which would have been exactly what happened last night. But there's no guarantees. The fact is, Washington beat Detroit in the regular season.
Yep.
2 out of the 3 games. So what do you want to do? You want to go head to head? We lost.
Yeah.
They had their opportunity.
Several.
Go win the game last Tuesday. They didn't do it. So it's they finished up on the high side of a roller coaster. It was a fun last few games. Nail biting for sure, nauseating at times, but wasn't enough.
So how you guys want to present it to the people today? What should they look
we'll get
forward
to people's
to?
emotions. The weird thing is I literally want to turn the page and start working on next season right now, and I hope they do too. But we'll have that. We got some other fascinating. There's something I'm very excited about. I don't want to get into it just yet because I'm not sure we're going to do it today because if time allows. But obviously the Red Wings are on the marquee.
All right, it's Karsch Anderson. They're coming up next. Stay tuned. 97.1.
All right, Red Wing fans. Look, I mean, there's part of being a sports fan is the roller coaster, and always there are ups and downs of being a sports fan. It's just impossible to avoid. No team gives you nothing but great moments all the time. They just don't. And so you prepare yourself for the ups and the downs. The weird thing is the highest of highs and the lowest of lows literally seconds apart. And the feeling like they had gotten themselves new life, only see that life snuffed out moments later. And it was such a weird concurrence of events. The timing of everything last night. I mean, every Red Wing fan knows it. For those of you that aren't really into it, I mean, just think about 7 seconds left, face off in the zone, down a goal. You need to score. You win one of those absolute scrums of a draw. The puck goes to the one place where you're going to get one shot at the point after a point-to-point pass after one, and Perron fires it home, and you tie the game, and you're not dead yet, and you feel like, oh my God, new life. Then they go to overtime, and there's a commercial break, and coming out of the commercial break, they show that Philly had given up an empty net goal, and Washington had the lead late, and an amazing roller coaster, all jammed in to 2 minutes and 5 seconds of real time, whatever it was.
I think the whole night was like that. It was, you'd be lying to yourself if you weren't excited throughout the game. Like, all the emotions were there. You're upset that they get down again. How do you get down again in a game like this? And then they come back, and then they get down by 2 goals again. How does that happen? Mm-hmm. Then they come back and they tie it. Then they get down again in the third period. What is going on? Come on, why are we doing this for the third straight game? And then the improbable goal to tie it at the end. I mean, and then you're watching a replay and like, oh, was that a hand pass from Dylan Larkin? Like, nope. Puck was behind him before he swatted at it with his hand. He didn't touch it. Amazing goal. And then, sadly, we figured out what was going to go on. I mean, you had the penalty in overtime. You're like, oh, God, here we go. Now they're going to lose. All these reasons were like, who's a scapegoat? Who's a scapegoat? Who's a scapegoat? And the reality is the entire team is, sadly, because they didn't get the job done last week in either one of the games that they really needed, which was the 2 teams that were chasing with them, Washington and Pittsburgh. Losing both of those games, obviously, those are games you can't come back from, because then you took everything out of your own hands. For a while there, hey, own destiny. We control our own destiny. All we got to do is win these games. We got it. Well, you lost controlling your destiny, and then you ended up losing the playoff push based on rules that they have for tiebreakers. But in the end, like I said during the crosstalk, Washington beat the Wings 2-1 in the regular season. So if you wanted to go head-to-head, all right, go head-to-head. They still don't get in. It's a bummer for sure. And obviously my expectation going into the season, I said I expected this team to be a playoff team. I thought they were a playoff team. I think they still are. I mean, technically they're not playing in the playoffs, so they're not, I guess, officially.
This isn't real hard to debate.
No, it's not. But, I mean, the fact is they finished with the same amount of points as the team that's in, and it comes down to a tiebreaker at the end. But, no, so I'm slightly disappointed on my initial prediction, but I'm really disappointed based on how you will change your expectations as the season goes on, and this team had every opportunity to do it, and when the opportunities presented themselves, they didn't take advantage of it.
Yep. And I know that there's like an undercurrent of anger from some people that feel like this team blew this opportunity. What I really saw, I felt like I saw a team grow up as this year went on. And some of the guys didn't need to grow up. David Perron didn't need to grow up. But I think I feel like Seider and Raymond grew up this year. And I feel like they're ready for bigger and better things. I think Dylan Larkin probably answered the bell from a captain's perspective quite a few times. Larkin has his share of critics in this town, and he's never likely going to be a superstar in this league. But he's their most important player. And I feel like he earned a ton of respect this year. I think Simon Edvinsson proved that he is now a regular here moving forward. And it's a fascinating offseason because, unfortunately, they have a bunch of older players that they have tough decisions to make. And there are guys that we really like that, you want to see Patrick Kane come back and David Perron come back. Sprong with a big goal last night. But those guys are free agents, and at their points in their careers, you have some tough decisions to make. So, I mean, look, I want to turn the page and get working on next season right now. I hope they have the same feeling. But the truth is, it doesn't feel like it's 100% an upward trajectory. What Derek Lalonde said last week, which I hated, okay? I don't like the coach saying it, but they're not chock full of so many young players that I get the sense that next year is an obvious step forward because they might be breaking in some new faces. Now, maybe they find a way to bring back some veterans under the cap and go sign, a big-time free agent or trade for one. And, you have to eye who's going to be worried. Patrick Kane, is there going to be diminishing returns on what he gets, what he provides a club, even though he proved he was healthy to play this year? Do they go all in and go after Sam Reinhart, who's got damn near 60 goals in Florida and appears to be headed for free agency? And appears to be headed to a new place. Like they kind of have some cap challenges themselves down there in Florida. I don't know, man. Obviously, I've just unloaded a lot of stuff here, but
well, that's what we do after the season ends, and after it ends the way it did. Just looking at players individually, I think is what you kind of have to do. And I really liked what I saw from David Perron in April, but I didn't like what I saw from David Perron from October through March because he just really wasn't the player I think that they thought they were getting. What they got in April was a guy who was point-a-game guy, and that was exciting to see. He turned it up at the end of the season, but when you look at the season totals, it's nothing special. And that, to me, was a little disappointing, particularly when they needed him to step up. When Dylan Larkin was out, when this team was going through the tailspin, he needed some veteran leadership to step up. And there were times when he did. I'm not saying he was a bust, but it's, he sticks up for his teammates and does some things. He's accountable after the games. I like that. Like I said, his April was great, but, he's an unrestricted free agent. And when you got to start thinking about, salary cap and do you want to go after other guys? And if I want to go after Sam Reinhart, I'm not bringing David Perron back. He came here. He was at a $4.75 million deal. He's unrestricted. Daniel Sprong is unrestricted. He was here on $2 million. Christian Fisher was here at $1.125 million. That's three guys right there. If you want to throw, Austin Sarnak and Zach Aston Reese in there, combined, it's like 1.5. That's a decent amount of money that is right there from players to go out and get a monster free agent if you can, and still be able to sign Raymond and Seider.
Yeah, those are their big ticket. They're restricted. Those are their big ticket items. They have to bring back Raymond and Seider. They absolutely have to.
But I don't know if you have to bring them back at that $8 million price that the big free agents get, because this is so early. Like, is this something that your first step is to get a contract? We're gonna give you a 4-year, $25 million contract, something like that, before you get the big 8+ a year contract.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I'm
not sure how it works. I'm just saying I don't know if they typically get you get that big contract out on your restricted year.
I think those guys' agents are going to go after big money because they know that the Red Wings can't afford to lose them. And as much as it'd be great to say that what you just said, I'm suspicious. I'll be very pleased if they don't get huge money here. But all right, so I mean, we've got a ton to talk about, including the coach. Got to get to the coach. I'm sure Steve Yzerman has to have. I mean, he's got to have those talks.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to that today at 10:18. 248-539-9797. Red Wing fans, how would you characterize your emotions today? What is your overwhelming? Because I've heard everything from gratitude to straight up hostility towards this team in the last, 12 hours since they've been eliminated. 248-539-9797. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. You know the expression, April showers bring flooded basements. It's true. The last thing you need is a faulty sump pump. To have yours inspected or upgraded, call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing at 855-339-4242. CGC will send one of their plumbers out quickly. Ask CGC Water about their Navien tankless water heater and get 10% off the installation. We got one. We love it. No more running out of hot water. You reduce your energy consumption and save money. Call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, your authorized independent Connecticut dealer. You know, the thing about it is the emotion, the raw emotion of that goal, and quite frankly, some of the goals that have been scored in the last couple of weeks.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And it's been a long time since we had that kind of opportunity as a hockey town to experience do or die hockey and big moments like that it was fun to be back. I mean, just on a surface level, it was fun to be back with that. But it's also awfully frustrating to be on the outside looking in by literally 1 point.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yep.
But like I said, I mean, you got to admit that you had fun watching these last few games.
I did.
I mean, everybody has to do that. You don't want to have to go to overtime, particularly against a team that you think you're way better than. I mean, I think the Red Wings are better than Montreal. But the situation wasn't what the situation was, and they still ended up winning those games, even though it took overtime to do so. The game Saturday night against Toronto, the heroics there, it was a ton of fun. But, of course, we're left with that empty feeling because it's another year without playoffs. It's now, 8 straight seasons without playoffs after 25 straight years with playoffs. Mm-hmm. And, I'm asking myself afterwards, okay, I'm accepting they didn't make the playoffs this year. Are they closer? And, of course, they're closer. And I wish Derek Lalonde never made that comment a week and a half ago.
Yep.
About, well, we don't know if we're going to be here next year. I wish he'd never come out of his mouth, because I think if you can remove that from your mind, from your memory bank, they absolutely are on the right path. The young players getting better, getting more ice time. We should see more of an influx of younger talent injected in this roster as we move forward. The emergence of Lucas Raymond as a budding star. I mean, we had the stats yesterday, some different stats that Birchie brought us, but then they showed last night, whatever it is, through 100 and something games, point totals. Lucas Raymond, comparing him to Kucherov and other players like that, like Pasternak. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yep.
I'm going to warm up to the fact that maybe he could be a superstar and not just a potential all-star. But this guy might really be something because of the trajectory he's on. And he just looks outstanding.
When the games meant the most, he was at his best. And yeah, whether or not that, he's got to find a way to move forward being that all the time. And yeah, then he'll be a star. Derek Lalonde, we said we get to it. So entering year 3, Derek Lalonde has gone, taken a team from 80 points to 91 points. In year 2, he definitely had a team that was a little bit more ready to win. The question is he done enough? Now, the one thing I don't want to get wrapped up in here, and I fall victim of this, is hanging on to or firing somebody for the wrong reasons. Ultimately, you ask yourself, what's in the best interest of the organization? Who is better served taking this team to the next level? Is it a Derek Lalonde, who is his first job as a head coach? You can see that they have made progress. Or is it a Gerard Gallant? Does that make more sense? To go get somebody that's out there? What makes the most sense? What makes you the best team next year? And I just threw Gallant's name out there.
No,
you don't say, oh, you don't fire Lalonde because he doesn't deserve it. You also don't say fire Lalonde because somebody needs to be punished. I need a pound of flesh for this team failing to make the playoffs.
Well, you have to.
What makes you the best team next year?
Yeah, and there will be several teams will be looking for new coaches. I don't know if the Red Wings are going to be one of them or not, but that does that play a role into it too? If you're Steve Yzerman, I mean, Yzerman hired him, and there's been ups and downs with Lalonde, but they have gotten better. I mean, there's evidence, there's factual evidence that they have gotten better, but has it come at the speed that you want it to? No, I don't think it has, but you can't deny there has been progress made. If this were a couple of years ago, I think it'd be no question. You'd say, "Oh, well, I trust Steve Yzerman. You built Tampa Bay and the whole bit, and we trust the Yzer plan the whole bit." But it's not a couple of years ago. It's a couple of years more of not getting into the playoffs, and it's not the quick punch button. Well, I trust him to make this decision. He's not gonna. I can't imagine he gets it wrong. Yes,
yeah.
He doesn't get the pass like Brad Holmes gets the pass. Because Brad Holmes has done it through the draft, and he's built this team. Boom, boom, boom. They got to the NFC Championship game, and we think they're poised for staying in this window of opportunity for years. Yzerman's building it, but it's not boom, 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 getting up these big steps.
No, these are small steps forward every year, and I'm not dismissive of those. I think it's important.
Yeah, I'm not dismissive of it either.
The problem is when you go slow, I will say this. This is my opinion, okay? If you are going slow, what you don't get is the benefit of the doubt when there's a step backwards. I'll take slow and steady progress, but a step backwards to me is a sign that it isn't working. Because slow and steady should mean sustainable, you haven't done anything dramatic, and you don't have to, necessarily move on from guys that you don't want to because you're building this in a sustainable way. That's part of slow and steady. But when you start, if you take a step back, then I have real questions.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back to, Yzerman, what he saw in his career as a player when it came to coaches. He came into a situation where they were, the worst team in the league, one of the worst teams in the league. And went through several coaches early in the career. Nick Polano was there. Harry Neal was there. Brad Park was there. And the Brad Park year in 86 was the 85-86 team was god-awful, worst team that we've seen. That's why they had the top pick in that draft. And they swung and missed on that pick in the draft with Joe Murphy. But then Jacques Demers came in, and kind of worked with Yzerman. And then it was, that team only went so far. And then it looked like they hit a wall. Then Brian Murray comes in. And Brian Murray with the high-flying offenses. And those teams were a lot of fun and improved, but didn't get anywhere into playoffs. Then Scotty Bowman came. And it was a totally different style of hockey, people being responsible both ways. He played with Barry Smith when Barry Smith was here, and he played when Dave Lewis was here as well. And he saw what happened when they brought in Babcock. So he's got his fingers all over it for the last 45 years, right? He knows what works and what doesn't work. So I guess I still give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a coaching decision. I'm a little reluctant to say go ahead, but I mean at the same time,
go ahead and what?
Go ahead and do what you're going to do. I tried that I trust him implicitly, but I kind of do because of his history, what he has seen, what he's been through, what he did with, at Tampa, but he's taken two swings here with Tampa guys, and it hasn't really worked out.
There's a difference between, okay, I'm not quite as all in, and my faith is completely eroded. I'm not there, but I do think, there's a difference between sort of a fringe amount of fans saying fire him, okay? Because that I think is the fringe. And you start thinking about if Steve Yzerman got fired today or Derek Lalonde got fired today. If Lalonde got fired today, I don't think there'd be wild reaction throughout the league. Like, what are the Red Wings doing? If Yzerman got fired today, I think everybody would be like, really? I think the league would be surprised.
Yeah.
I think the hockey world would be surprised. I think the hockey world might be moderately surprised with Lalonde, but not completely shocked. But in Yzerman's case, yeah, I think next year is the first time in his tenure in Detroit that there is legitimate heat, not fans of sports talk radio and on social media heat, but legitimate heat.
Well, as I stand here the day after the season ends for the Red Wings, I'm not firing Derek Lalonde.
I don't think I am either, but I
not after 2 years, and there was definite improvement from 1 year to the next. I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, if you can find somebody better, I'd take him. But anyway, 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. We do want to know, what is your overriding emotion today, Red Wing fan, after last night and the last couple of weeks, the absolute roller coaster that it was. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Spring is here, and so are the Silverados and Equinoxes at your number one volume Chevy dealer in Michigan, Sarah Chevrolet, Sterling Heights. And that means Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights has a huge inventory of Silverados and Equinoxes that are ready for you to test drive and take one home today. Plus, it's truck season, so now's the time to get that Silverado you've been dreaming of. Sarah Chevrolet Sterling Heights, where they guarantee the lowest price or it's free. 17.5 in Van Dyke in Sterling Heights. Call 87-SAY-SARAH or go to saysarah.com. Together, let's drive. We got bold ass predictions for the Red Wings.
Oh boy,
that we can look back at. Not a lot of hits.
No,
not a lot of hits. Not a lot of bold ass predictions that came true.
You have ours?
I do.
Oh boy,
we'll get to those today at 10:50. What were the bold ass predictions going into this season? 248-539-9797.
I mean, due respect, they were bold.
Well, that's okay. That's why we don't mock these. We're not
trying to be safe.
No, well, the point of the bold ass prediction is something that is a bit out there without crossing the line and becoming a dumbass prediction. Yeah. So we had bold ass predictions, and we'll revisit those. And people generally do really well. We don't get a lot of line crossers, if you will. 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. Let's go to Ken. You're next on 97.1. Hi, Ken.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Okay.
I just want to say there's everybody in Hockeytown needs to settle down. First of all, Uncle Fester is not going anywhere.
Oh, boy.
He's a good coach. He's got a great support staff, Bob Bugner. Power play improved this year, so settle down with that. As far as what happened, I believe it's all goaltending. You ask the guy who's used to playing 20, 30 games to play 50, 55. He hit a wall. He let in the last 20, 25 games too many goals. Our Husso got hurt. Our backup was okay. We needed a guy to steal a game. You go back to Washington and Pittsburgh, you need to steal a game. We got 1 point out of 4 points against the two teams you're fighting against. Mm-hmm. You get 2 points against Washington or Pittsburgh, you're in the playoffs.
Yep. I mean, the goaltender is another question. I mean, they've got three guys here. I mean, Reimer started the most important game of the year last night. Lyon played out of his mind for a while there at a pace that we wondered if it was sustainable and whether or not he was the next Tim Thomas. Husso was supposed to be the guy. Down on the farm, you got a former high draft pick in Kosa. You got to question whether or not they're going to try and sign Trey Augustine. So there's in-house options, and then you have to decide, okay, even if we do believe in a Hossa or an Augustine, or we really like Lyon, we need to get somebody else. There's a lot that goes into this goaltending, and it's going to go a variety of different directions.
Yeah, and they did give up fewer goals this season than they did last season, but it's only like 5 fewer goals than what they gave up last year. But they scored a bunch more. They scored, I think it's 38 more goals this year than they did last year. It's the overall team defense. I mean, it's not just goaltending. I think we'd all like to be able to count on a experienced goaltender, but it's overall team defense that seemed to be lacking at times. And that was a little disappointing to see this year. But maybe that comes with more additions. You know, could that have been solved if Edvinsson had been here for the whole second half of the season? Does that come with some recent draft counting on him in high pressure situations? I mean, it's fun to have a guy like that. And it's been a while since the Red Wings have had. Well, I guess since I don't know when Raymond made his debut. Probably as a 19 or 20-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So are we going to see that next season? Is Nate Danielson, does he get an opportunity to make this team out of training camp? I mean he's awfully good.
Hudson just finished with BU. Their loss to Denver in the Frozen Four, and signed and looks, dangerous.
Well, and it also announced today that the Red Wings have signed Shea Buim to a 3-year entry-level contract, and he just got done winning the national championship with Denver. So not that he would have made this roster if they'd made the playoffs, but it's just interesting to see. All right, here we go, trying to move things along.
248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. Characterize your emotions this morning, Red Wings fans. What a roller coaster ride. Tony is next. Hi, Tony.
Hey, guys. How are you this morning?
What's up?
Good, Joe. Just my opinion. We know what cost them not going to the playoffs. In December, they lost 8 in a row. Then Larkin went down. They lost 7 in a row. And I blame it on the coach. The coach has got to stop that. You got to get motivated somewhere to pick up a game here and there. And I would replace the coach. And I tell you, one incident this year when I forget the team they played, where the guy threw the stick out on one of our wings, had a breakaway and hit the puck. That team immediately turned around, came back, and scored a goal. I didn't see any emotion out of that coach. He should have been furious. And the next day, he's thanking the referee for saying, "Hey, I made the wrong call. I should have called a penalty." So,
well,
anyway,
if you're upset with his demeanor, I mean, that's I don't know if that's right or wrong. It's your opinion. You want a more fiery coach, and I think a lot of people like to see that, because Derek Lalonde is not going to be fiery on the ice or in front of cameras. He's not that kind of guy. I have no idea what he's like behind the scenes in the locker room, between periods, if he gets a team fired up or not. But that's not his MO. That's not who he is. Yeah. Can you win like that? He had won an extraordinary amount of games as a coach in the minors. He was very successful coaching the Toledo Walleye and all that. So, I mean, it can work, but you also have to work with what you have to work with. And this team is not the most talented team in the NHL. It's an average hockey team.
The fiery stuff is a window into seeing a guy do something. Like when a guy, you figure coaches with a team and on the job, 16 hours a day during the season, whatever it is, he's always working. Our window is the 45 seconds to a minute and a half that we see him on the bench. I'm talking about the fans. We get to see him in press conferences and watch all that stuff and can talk to people about him. But that window doesn't always provide a real accurate representation of who he is and what he is as a coach. I personally like coaches that never seem out of control or surprised by anything. Personally, that seem like they're in command at all times and they're not getting too high or too low. And so, I don't have an issue with the way he coaches. But to me, it's not about this coach has these flaws. It's about who's the best coach to take this team to the next level next year. Is it Derek Lalonde or is it somebody outside? And Steve Yzerman knows people around the league, so I have no issues if he says, I think we really can do better with somebody else. Well, I'm not punishing Derek Lalonde for this. I'm just taking that moment to reflect. And by the way, I don't know that 12 hours after the loss, the emotional loss is the best time. Like I hope Steve Yzerman takes a week and lets it settle in, because I think you don't want emotion playing a role in these kinds of decisions.
No, and I'm sure he's formed an opinion. And to your point, do we let it marinate a little bit? Sure, I hope he does too, and doesn't just do whatever he's going to do right now. I just wait for it a little bit, and he should. But keeping in mind what the Detroit job is in the NHL, you've got obviously a rabid fan base. You've got a brand spanking new arena with fantastic facilities. You've got a team that has some talent, some younger talent that's chomping at the bit to get here, and you've got a ton of cap space, even after you re-sign 2 restricted free agents. You got a ton of cap space.
Mm-hmm.
It's an attractive job. It's an original 6 team, a team with just stocked with all types of tradition and history. So it's one of those premier jobs in sports.
248.
So if you wanted to move on, you would imagine there'd be a lineup of candidates there.
248-539-9797. Feedback comes in, and let's get to some of it. Texted to that same number. It shows that the team has talent to win tough games. The coach should have inspired them in one of those many losses, especially against the weak teams. My hostility is towards Torts, Phillies coach. That's from an unnamed texter. Yeah, he pulled the goalie. The timing of that was really weird because he didn't need to, as it turned out. But I think word got to him late. I mean, literally, this is a matter of seconds. And oh, by the way, when you're streaming feeds, you could be as much as a minute behind.
This is true, but at the same time, I mean, so let's say he finds out, oh, wait a minute, I was about to pull the goaltender. What now what? So now I don't have to because we're eliminated? So then what? Do you think the team's going to play inspired hockey? Are they all of a sudden now they're going to win one to eliminate Washington?
No, but there's no point in pulling the goalie.
I guess.
Because you don't need to win in regulation.
But I just witnessed our own team pull the goaltender several times in the last week and convert.
But those were must-pull situations. That game was tied.
No, I know, but it's a given. When he pulls it, he thinks it's a must-win situation.
Yes.
I'm just saying,
Well,
it goes the other way. You've got an advantage with the extra man. You're trying to score and win the game.
Yeah, but if they go to overtime, I prefer them overtime and 3-on-3. But hey, look, I mean, they gave up the empty netter, and the timing was unfortunate.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if the Red Wings had scored earlier, maybe he wouldn't have pulled the goalie. But
well, you saw how the Red Wings reacted, right?
Yes.
After once they got to the shootout, they couldn't have cared less, right?
And they won it.
So, right, I know, because Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane. You think Philadelphia would have been inspired to play in overtime?
No, but they might have won it.
I don't know. I think people are projecting it, wanting it to be, and in the end, this team didn't do enough to win.
I guess we just disagree. 248-539-9797. Bet the NBA play-in tournament with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account. You get bonus bets back if your same-game parlay doesn't win on any Tuesday night matchup. NBA same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance to score a bigger payday. However you want to play, just head to FanDuel.com/Doug to bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay. That's FanDuel.com/Doug. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Maximum refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. There is the Captain Dylan Larkin following last night's.
Man.
I mean, they won.
I watched it last night. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
This is so sad.
It was like Sarah McLachlan music should have been playing in the background. Like
some emaciated dog.
No, I felt
walking.
like, all right, I'll donate.
Right.
Take my money.
What do you need, buddy?
That was the most lifeless shootout I'd ever, honestly, I felt like I'd ever seen.
And the thing is, I was sitting there watching it when Patrick Kane was skating in. I'm like, the Red Wings probably desperately want him to score here, so they can just GTFO. They're like, I'm so don't want to be here. Do we have to do the shootout? Okay, please, someone score so we're not 6-7 rounds.
Normally after he scores, it's like, showtime, here we go. It's like, scores, showtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's go home time.
Yeah, it's...
All right, so...
right? Devoid of any expression on his face, just skates away. And, all right, let's go.
Yep. We do bold-ass predictions at the start of every season. And we record them and then revisit them. Here are bold-ass predictions for the Red Wings. Gator, you predicted the Wings would score at least 280 goals this season while yielding just 265, just enough to get them into the playoffs.
Well, let's see. I said how many they would score?
280.
They got 278.
Give up 265.
Well, 274 they give up. So, close.
You said Alex DeBrincat will help Dylan Larkin reach 100 points this season, helping to cement him as one of the true stars in the league. 69 points?
He finished with 69 points in 68 games. Didn't quite play the full season there, but point a game, but wouldn't have been enough. No.
You had Michael Rasmussen will stay healthy and break out with a 20-goal season.
Well, he did not stay healthy. He missed the last 7 games of the season and scored 13 goals, but I think you could say his presence was missed.
Okay. So mine, I got 1 right and 2 with potential. That still could come true. My bold-ass predictions, the Wings will sign Patrick Kane, winning the chase because he wants to play with DeBrincat. Kane will get Sid Abel's number 12 because, Kane and Abel. But Steve Yzerman will unload some vets at the trade deadline for someone's elite goalie prospect. Now, this one takes some creativity. They traded Klim Kostin for a minor league defenseman and a 7th-round pick. If he becomes an elite goalie...
All right.
Still holding out hope.
Yeah, well, you're still holding out hope that the Klim Kostin would be considered a veteran, I guess.
And then there's this one. The Wings will be in and win the 2024 NHL Draft Lottery.
Okay.
Now I got a chance.
I'm not poo-pooing that because my mind immediately went to, okay, what do we got to look forward to? What can happen here? Can they win the lottery?
Do you want another percent chance?
Normally I'd say no, but absolutely.
It's 0.5%.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yep.
What are the chances in the top 3?
I don't think they can have it. I think they can only win it.
Is that it?
Yep. I think the system they've got, you can only win it.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm. So 0.5% chance.
So St. Louis also finished with 91 points and did not make the playoffs.
I'm doing the simulator 3, 4, 5, 6. On the 6th try, they can get a top 5 pick. In the 6th try, they moved up to number 5.
All right. Here we go.
All right, some of the people, bold-ass predictions. Steve wrote in, here's my bold-ass prediction. Larkin and DeBrincat will score 40 goals each, and the team will make the conference finals. They had 33 and 27. Rasmussen will score 25 points. Perron will lead the team in power play goals. 25 goals, and Perron will lead the team in power play goals, and we signed Draisaitl in the offseason.
Well, Perron had 7 power play goals, did not lead the team.
Yeah, Rasmussen did not get to 25, and Draisaitl's not a free agent. Brandon and Clausen, bold-ass prediction. Raymond will finish with a double-digit plus-minus.
Well, technically it's true.
He was double-digit in plus-minus.
Minus 12.
But he was minus 12. And we'll finish top 3 in the Masterson voting. And what else? Kitech. The Red Wings will have a goalie in the All-Star game. That didn't happen. Here's one. Lucas Raymond will not be a Red Wing come trade deadline. No. Nick says, bold prediction, the Detroit Red Wings will fire Steve Yzerman after they miss the playoffs.
That's not going to happen.
I would say highly improbable. But yeah, like I said, there weren't a lot of hits. It's tough. It's tough to have a bold ass prediction come true. 248-539-9797. Let's get back to your open line calls. Chuck's in Flat Rock. Hi, Chuck.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Okay.
The last 3 games were so exciting. I've not been a hockey fan since, they were good, and maybe call me a fair weather fan, but I think this team played despite their coach, and him coming out there and making those comments that, we shouldn't have been here and all this stuff, that I just think it didn't do them any good, and I think they played despite him. So, last night when
hey, by the way, Chuck, just real quick, if that's true, he's done. Like, if that's true, then they will not bring him back, and Steve Yzerman will know that.
No, he shouldn't come back, because you know what? He has no fire. He has no nothing. I think Bob Bugner, who's, the assistant coach or whatever, or assistant on the sideline, I think he'd do a better job than him. They need somebody with some fire. And, you seen Dylan Larkin at that face-off just throw himself on the ground to get that. And that was the first time in any one of, I'm 52 years old, in any one of the playoffs, World Series, whatever, I cried when I seen that, because it was so emotional. And I don't see how they bring this guy back. I really don't.
Well, they improved from 80 points last year to 91 points this year. They improved from 35 wins last year to 41 wins this year. I mean, it's improvement, and it's marked improvement, and it's improvement over the previous year too.
And they spent $30 million to do that to get 11 points.
Okay, so is that on Lalonde or is that on Steve Yzerman then?
His comments down the stretch when they needed him, that's on him, not Yzerman.
Well, what were his comments
were a week ago?
Yeah, what were his comments to the team? Because I seriously, I don't know that I don't like the comments either, but if the team let those comments derail their season, then I really question their I don't think you let that happen. Something somebody said to the media, I didn't like it either, okay? Don't get me wrong. But I don't think that derailed him. If it did, then yeah, Yzerman knows it and he needs to go. 248-539-9797. Let's go to Matt next on 97.1. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Doug.
What's up?
You know what? I thought last night just reaffirmed, and this is not attack on the players, but how bad the league really is. When they have to be stubborn with this 3-on-3 overtime and going to a shootout, what did that give us? That gave us an empty net goal in a 1-1 hockey game. I mean, that is just complete garbage right there.
I mean, look, we are in the losing end of this tiebreaker and how it works. The overtime and the 3-on-3 and the shootouts, they are really exciting and fun to watch. And they play a major role in who's in the playoffs and who's not. And they're a far cry from what the sport of hockey is in the 60 minutes from the beginning of the first period to the end of the third. That I mean, would you be in favor in just going back to the old school at the end of regulation? If the score is tied, the game is tied. That's it. It's
Absolutely.
Over. It's a tie.
5-on-5. Go play 5 minutes. I mean, what's next? Is football going to go start playing 7-on-7 to establish a winner?
Well, this isn't like they just introduced this past year. I mean, we've had overtime for a long time. We've had the 3-on-3 for a bunch of years too. This isn't all new, and nobody's complained about it until now.
Well, I've hated it forever, and I know a lot of hockey. I want to sit here and use the word purist and elitist because but I know a lot of people who love and follow hockey who hate overtime. I mean, it is not the game. Why are you altering the game just to establish a winner? Literally every league has a tie in it in hockey. Tie is fine. Everybody gets.
That's funny.
Point.
I think a lot of people despise ties. I might be wrong on that, but I think one of the reasons it's gone is because people hate ties.
I agree with you, Doug, that I think a lot of people despise ties. And I also think that the game is a heck of a lot more exciting, which means you get more fans and more viewership when you have solutions like that they've put in for the regular season. Now, when you get to the postseason, obviously it's overtime, it's sudden death overtime. Period.
I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what's a better tiebreaker than head-to-head.
I don't either. I'm not sure why they do it the way they do it, unless imbalanced schedules makes it difficult to do that.
But head-to-head, the Red Wings lose out to Washington anyway.
Right. So I mean, I'm not complaining about what happened last night.
248-539-9797. It's Carson Anderson. We got Tiger baseball this afternoon, some Tiger stuff that we will get to. I mean, look, there's a lot on the agenda, but Detroit is really feeling it today over the Red Wings. So we'll see what we get to. But, how do you characterize your feelings today, Red Wing fans? An amazing roller coaster ride at the end that unfortunately we've come up on the short end of, and it's depressing. But that goal last night with 3 seconds left, coupled with moments later hearing that Philly had given up an empty netter and Detroit was in a real world of hurt you almost can't make that up. Make it up. And of course it worked out that way, and it was wholly depressing. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket.
Brought to you by Builders First Source. That's a wrap on the 2023-24 Red Wings season, eliminated due to a tiebreaker with Washington, so the offseason begins. Some frustrated fans as the team comes up short, but head coach Derek Lalonde says, don't call this season a failure. Now, there was a notable report that coach may be let go if they missed the postseason, but we will see. Another question will be who returns this offseason. Free agents will include Patrick Kane, David Perron, Shane Gostisbehere, Christian Fischer, and Daniel Sprong. The Detroit Lions gave a little sneak peek of the new uniform designs in a social media post, just flashes of some fonts and colors. The entirety of the new duds will be unveiled officially tomorrow night at the season ticket holder event at Ford Field. The NFL also announced several fans that will be announcing selections during the draft. Number 29 going to be represented by several high school students, including female flag football reps from the first schools to begin the program, also boys from tackle football teams at Lake Orion and Detroit King. And game 3 of 4 between the Tigers and the Rangers, they split the first two and will play another day game this afternoon. It is Tarek Skubal Day. He holds a 2.08 ERA with 20 strikeouts in 3 games. Detroit trying to creep a little bit closer to first place Cleveland, who currently holds the best record in baseball. It's a 1:10 p.m. start today at Comerica Park. Dan Dickerson's call right here on The Ticket. From the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Chris Villar. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket and Odyssey.com.
Sad end of the season for the Red Wings. You could hear it in Dylan Larkin's voice. You could see it on his face if you watched the post-game video afterwards. He was devastated by the Wings not getting into the playoffs, despite the fact that they valiantly played the end of the season, 3 straight overtime wins. Last night was a shootout win. The fact that they got it to overtime is a miracle when you think about everything was against them. I mean, they had an icing call that they then overruled and said it was tipped in the zone. So that meant that the Red Wings had to put the goaltender back in goal with like 30 seconds to go. They get a face-off with 7 seconds left and convert that to a goal with 3 seconds left. Absolutely improbable. It was remarkably exciting. And then 5 minutes later, we're all frowning because Philadelphia doesn't get past Washington. And, you know, Doug, a friend of mine just texted me this, and it's true, and it's also frustrating. The regulation win thing as a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
How about this for a tiebreaker? Shouldn't the first tiebreaker be wins, period? The Red Wings had 41 wins. Washington had 40. But because Washington had more regulation wins, they're in. I mean, if you're gonna rank things.
So here's the thing about wins is that I think the reason they do it this way is because it values the 5-on-5 play, the hockey, the purity of the game of hockey. But it's also rewarding. I think that's why they're doing it. But the wins would reward overtime wins, which is the bastardization, the 3-on-3, which is not hockey as we know it. Damn it, the call screener went out again. Sorry. Now it's back on. Never mind.
All right.
Sorry, frustration's coming out there. All's good. Anyway, so I don't know why they do what they do. I guess this is one of those things that I never paid that close attention to until right now. And now, Ken, can you get Gary Bettman on the line, please?
Yeah, I'll ask him, hey, do you think you can change the tiebreaker rules so it always benefits Detroit?
There you go.
Done.
I like it.
I mean, that's only every fan base in America in any sport only complains about it when it doesn't benefit them.
Yep.
These rules were in place well before the season started. Yep. Everyone knew them, and you just got to go back to they blew an 8-point lead or whatever, that 8-game stretch they had. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I had to pick one thing that I would change of the whole season, it would be a healthy full season for Dylan Larkin. They don't lose those 8 games in a row if they got Dylan Larkin, but it speaks to how great how important, I should say, he is to this team. You could the debate over whether or not he's, he's superstar, not a superstar, blah blah blah.
He's integral to the success of this team. They showed the record of the team when he plays. Definitely a winning team when he plays. Yep. And point a game guy, he can be better than that if he please stay healthy. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. Why doesn't he stay healthy? Because he busts his ass every shift he's on the ice. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He is the embodiment of the Detroit Red Wings. And people, for whatever reason, were upset with him this year. They've been upset with him for years. And I'm like, why?
I think
this guy oozes captaincy.
I think he's probably quieted some of those critics who I'm now just probably making pick up their phones and call us. But I do think that he did quiet a lot of the critics. There was one part about last night, by the way, that was just immensely effed up. I mean, effed up. And we'll get to that today at 11:20. In the meantime, Saad is in Rochester, and he's on 97.1. Hi, Saad.
What's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing today?
Okay. Right.
First and foremost, screw Philly. They're taking their paybacks from 97 playoffs, apparently. Second, I really don't think we're going to get rid of Lalonde as much as I'd really like to. I don't think these guys played for their coaching whatsoever. I think they played for Larkin towards the end of that stretch. It's just tough to see us losing how we did in those 8 games. The way, as many comebacks as we had, we lost a lot of games when we were up 4-1, et cetera. It's just frustrating, man. It sucks that today that we're not going to be in the playoffs for this year. And, I
ask you a question, Saad.
Get rid of him.
Can
I really don't think he does.
Okay, then if he doesn't, do you want Yzerman gone?
Hell no. Absolutely not. No, look what he's done to this team. He's done nothing but good. You got to remember what he's done when he got here. He had to take care of Holland's mistakes. That was a chore all by itself.
I hear you, but let's think about
there that are saying, "Oh, we need to get rid of Yzerman" or anything else. This guy has no idea what the hell hockey or management is. They're just some internet GMs that think they know.
But this call's fascinating to me, Saad, and I just want to. You are balancing. Lalonde has to go, but you don't think Yzerman's going to fire him, and you approve of Yzerman's job. So do you acquiesce and say...
I understand the contradiction in that one, but at the same time, I just think he's going to give him another chance.
Okay. All right. I wanted to see where you were at with it. Thank you. 248-539-9797. Phil is in Ann Arbor. Hi, Phil.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Okay.
Phil!
Oh, sorry. My bad. That's on me.
Yeah. First off, it's a heartbreak, I think, as a Detroit fan. Seeing the last stretch of games where Detroit has played their heart out, and especially Lucas Raymond. But overall through the season, Detroit has been streaky at best. So overall, I think it's a up-and-coming team. They have a lot of young talent, but I would emphasize young. They're not mature yet. And I think that's where they kind of, their hang-up is. Like last caller said, how many games have we lost with us ahead? You look at the great teams right now, Florida Panthers, New York Rangers. Those are teams that are stacked with veteran superstars, I would say. So it's a very hard league to play in and win. I think their moment is coming. But it's a heartbreak what happened last night. And last thing, I would say, the NHL reffing has been asinine. What happened on the 10 minutes into the Philadelphia Flyers game?
Dude,
I'm not a Philadelphia Flyers fan, but that was asinine to call that goal back, or maybe he lost sight of the puck.
Phil,
I don't know.
Phil, it's what we're going to get to at 11:20. It's the most effed up part about last night, and we are 6 segments into the show before we're bringing it up. We let everybody vent, but we need to get to that next because that sucked. It sucked. And I cannot believe, well, we'll get to it at 11:20. It sucked. It's Carson Anderson, 97.1 The Ticket. It's Hump Day at Twin Peaks, and you know what that means. Bourbon and Brews. Twin Peaks girls, They're in their hot black lingerie, ready to help you cure those midweek blues. Stop by from 5 to 7 to sample the weekly specials. And this week, they're featuring Kentucky favorites like Four Roses, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, and sample their Kentucky Mule cocktail. And did you know Twin Peaks has added more time to their daily party? All lodges are open later. That means an extra hour of happy hour Monday through Thursday night. Late night happy hour starts at 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday and runs till midnight. That gives you late workers or night owls an extra hour to take advantage of their amazing happy hour specials. Bring the crew over to enjoy amazing deals on shareable items like $3 fried pickles, $5 hand-cut and breaded-to-order mozzarella cheese bites, and you wash it down with the great drink deals like the $3 Wells and $4 tall domestic drafts. Or buy a round of cheap shots for the group, priced at $3.99. Twin Peaks. To find a location nearest you, go to twinpeaksrestaurant.com. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views. Okay, yeah, so the caller brought it up, and we said we'd get to it at 11:20, but since he brought it up and we were right against the break, we're getting to it a little early. How the F did they not allow that goal last night in the Philly-Washington game that Philly scored?
Referee blew the whistle. Lost sight of the puck. We've seen it before.
I know, but losing sight of the puck when it's not anywhere close to covered up, and this was a unique situation. And for people who missed it, this disallowed goal cost Philly what would have been a 1-0 lead and could have changed the entire scope of that game. And in a one-goal game, a goal is a pretty big deal.
Well, that's kind of big, yeah.
But it was a shot. The puck goes off the netminder for Washington, Lindgren, but he takes the posture of a goalie that's like frozen the puck in his pads, like he caught it up against his chest. The shot deflected off Lindgren, went straight up in the air. And so this puck is fluttering in the air above the goal. Lindgren's sitting there like he's got it frozen against his chest.
Buddha statue. Yeah.
Everybody is kind of crashing the net. When the puck comes down, it hits a Flyer player and goes in the net. Seconds before it goes in the net, the official blows the whistle because he lost sight of the puck. They go to review it, and I guess there was nothing they could do about it.
No.
But the incompetence of not knowing where the puck is, and I'm going back and forth on this. All right, so
strong. That's strong.
Well, I mean, come on.
But this isn't the first time it's happened. We've seen it happen to the Red Wings. We've seen it happen for the Red Wings.
It's the first time that it's happened that it's cost the Red Wings a playoff spot. So
I get it. It's
the most costly.
You would think that maybe you could come up with a way to review it where you can allow for something like that, but they don't. They say you lose track of it, or if you're blowing the whistle, then it's done. Play's over with.
In a league where you can stop a play because you had intent to blow the whistle, can you also not stop it because you intend not to blow the whistle because, there's the puck? I mean, it's just so...
I get it. It's clear that it was not stopped. It's clear, right? That it wasn't underneath the goaltender. There should not have been blown dead. I mean, the argument is that there's no way it should have been blown dead because it's literally up in the air.
Yep.
Where these other plays that have happened to and against the Red Wings, to and for the Red Wings, when the referee's intent to blow the whistle, those have been like legit. Okay, it's gone. Referee blows the whistle, and then all of a sudden you see the puck sliding across the goal line. It gets lost in the mass of humanity. This was literally up in the air. I get it. It's totally frustrating. It sucks, but.
It's the most effed up part about last night. Everything we've talked about, that's the one, and there's nothing we can do about it. It just is. It was a moment overwrought with incompetence, and who's the victims? That's right, we are.
Well, let's win the draft lottery with our 0.3%.
So I got to get the draft lottery rules. I'm pretty sure they can't even win it. These rules, they can only move up, but they can't technically win it. No team below 11.
Oh, great. That's good.
I think can win it.
Remember when the Rangers won it and they were actually a playoff team? Remember that? Yeah. 2020? That was fun. COVID. Thanks a lot, COVID.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just this is a day where
I want Gary Bettman on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Bettman dreads doing those interviews, the radio interviews with when he's following a playoff team run or whatever, and then he's got to sit and do the interviews, whether it's with the media or if it's with the broadcast crew. That just lined up with questions. All right, let's get to this tiebreaker situation. What are you doing with the rules in a tiebreaker? What are we going to hang on to these overtime rules? Why do you devalue the overtime or shootout win? Why aren't you looking at total wins as the number one tiebreaker? What's with, lost track of the puck and they got to blow the whistle? It's dead even though the puck is straight up in the air. I mean, there's obviously a day like this is frustrating to be a Red Wing fan. It's frustrating to be a hockey fan, but it's a Red Wing fan. Oh, there goes the screener again.
Is it because you pounded the desk?
No, I pounded the desk after the screen went out.
Now it's turned back on. We're having technical difficulties today. On top of all that's happened. Lost the screener. Kenny, you're going to have to text us. 248-539-9797. Phone calls, feedback. Carson Anderson, 97.1. So we've talked about the restricted free agents, Seider and Raymond. And here's the scary thing about them. They could sign offer sheets. If a team offers them an insane amount of money in an offer sheet, you kind of have to match it. And we've seen that before in Detroit hockey history.
It's 1998 all over again.
Yep.
With Sergei Fedorov in the Carolina, they signed him to an offer sheet, $15 million And the Red Wings had to match that. It was $15 million up front, basically. You got his $15 million signing bonus back 25 years ago. That's a ton of money.
I mean, I would imagine the teams have to be careful with the offer sheet because Detroit lets them walk, then they have to give up compensation and pay whatever. So you can't just offer.
Right. I'm not sure how this works. Like, is there a period where the Red Wings get exclusive rights and they just go ahead and if you want to re-sign them, then they're yours, and he doesn't get to even entertain offers from other teams? The rules seem to change all the time. It's the NHL, Doug. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, I found multiple different explanations for how the draft lottery works. I'm pretty sure the only thing the Red Wings can do is move up to 5. But 248-539-9797.
Let's just say this. Would it behoove them to sign deals right now with Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond? Absolutely. And I think that's the plan. And I don't think either one of those guys wants to move on elsewhere. You know, they got here on the ground floor. They're Yzerman's picks. They've turned out to be really good picks. So let's look at it done.
So now you look at like the free agents they have: Perron, Kane, Sprong, Fisher, and to a lesser degree, Aston Reese and Zarnik. But the first 4.
That's for forwards, yeah. And Gostisbehere on defense.
Gostisbehere's on defense. I mean, you could let Gostisbehere walk, and
there goes a lot of power play points.
There's a lot of power play points, a lot of offense from the blue line.
But
you've got defensemen signed. That's one thing. And the kid last year, the Palik Sandin kid,
Sandin Pellikka?
Yeah, is a huge offensive threat, but is he ready? Probably not.
Well, he's playing in the Swedish league, and he's, I believe, the big league there, and they're in the playoffs, and he's done reasonably well in the playoffs. He's only 19.
Yep.
But if you're ready, you're ready.
Is Johansson ready?
I mean, he's been in the minors for a couple of years with Grand Rapids. You would think that he's going to get an opportunity. And you don't know who's going to emerge in training camp. You know, the
way Lucas Raymond did.
Yeah, I mean, will Buem look like he's going to be how to pronounce it? Buem?
I think so.
Is because they just signed him to a 3-year entry level deal, and he's immediately going to Grand Rapids as they get ready for the playoffs. So does he have a chance to make it? I mean, he was very consistent in Denver, back-to-back seasons, the same point totals, but obviously was a huge part in Denver's success. They've got guys. William Wallander, he's playing at Grand Rapids now. That's another
I feel
one.
like he's been around forever.
And yet he hasn't. But
no,
yeah.
No, it feels like Casper, Mazur, can they help up front?
Right. And then there's free agency beyond your own restricted free agency. I mean, right now, it's fresh. And maybe it's too soon to think about it, but I really don't want to bring any of the free agents back with the exception of Patrick Kane.
I was about to say, Kane's the name on the marquee, and Kane's the name that everybody knows, former superstar player who came here and was really useful.
But he's also, he's a bit of a liability. And you saw it last night. When you get into situations where you've got to play defense and everything's on the line and he's on the ice, like, oh boy.
He took in overtime when possession is everything, he took a low percentage backhand shot and then followed it up with a tripping penalty. And you're like,
yeah. But
and
he controls the power play. Mm-hmm. You want the puck on his stick.
When they needed goals, Patrick Kane on the ice was a huge asset.
Yeah. So I want to bring him back, but you can't break the bank to do it. And I don't know what's in Patrick Kane's mind because Patrick Kane can write his ticket to any team in the NHL. It's a question of, which team has cap space that they want to sign him for.
How much money
does money matter?
Yeah, because he's at a point in his career where you can play the old he doesn't need the money card, or you have the last big contract card. At his age, this is the last time he might be able to score a big contract. So who knows what his motivations are. We'll get back to your phone calls and feedback coming up. Got a Tiger weather update. They have an afternoon game today, a Scuba game, which might work out just fine for us. We'll explain at 11:32 here on 97.1 The Ticket.
Well, with the temperatures changing, we got the spring going on right now. Lots of water. I hope that you've called Natural Way Lawn and Tree Service because you're going to get green and stay green with Natural Way. Call them today. 888-GET-GREEN is a telephone number. And for a limited time, you purchase a full lawn program. You get free grub control, but you got to mention my name, Gator, and the station's 97.1 The Ticket. You don't want to wait, all right? You keep waiting. crabgrass could creep up. And if crabgrass creeps up, you're not going to be happy about that because the first application is the most important to control crabgrass. By the time you see it, it's too late to fix it. So schedule early. Call them right now. 888-GET-GREEN is the telephone number. Natural Way uses fewer chemicals. They use environmentally sound practices. They have people that know what they're doing. Each lawn, in fact, is assigned its own specialist. These guys are certified applicators and arborists. They come out, they custom tailor solutions specifically for your yard and your home because your yard is different than your neighbor's yard, right? It's a locally owned company over 30 years, a company I've used for nearly a dozen years. I love what Natural Way has done with my house, and it's 100% satisfaction guarantee. You got to love that. Give them a call today, 888-GET-GREEN, or go to naturalwaylawn.com.
So Tiger baseball schedule for this afternoon. Weird weather pattern. First of all, it's supposed to be pouring rain most of the day today, and it kind of broke up. It is ominous looking outside. It's dark. It's overcast. It is raining in some areas of Metro Detroit. 1 p.m. in Detroit, 18% chance of rain. 2 p.m., 20% chance of rain. 3 p.m., 73% chance of rain. 4 p.m., 98% chance of rain. Also expected to be thunderstorms involved. But Scooble's pitching. And the Tigers don't score a lot of runs, they can get the whole game in.
Let's go. They only need to get 5 innings with a lead.
Yep.
Let's
5 innings. 5 innings of Scooble. I like that.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. I mean,
get it on, get it over with.
If I'm going to tell you right now, Scooble's going to give you a complete game, regardless of number of innings, I'll feel pretty good about their chances to win.
You know, it's funny. The Red Wings theatrics last night, it overshadows what the Tigers did yesterday, which was pretty impressive to come back and win that game.
Yep.
But, yeah, let's hope they get the game in.
248-539-9797. Anthony's in Port Huron, and he's on 97.1 The Ticket. What's up, Anthony?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, I wanted to talk about Lalone, and I don't think he's the right man for the job because when you're an assistant coach, you're typically not the one making the hard decisions. And he might have been a buffer for the star players in Tampa Bay. And now you're sitting at the head of the table, and you're making those hard decisions. And one of the things that to me killed their season was the Red Wings play when it was like 6 minutes or less in a period, and sometimes 5 minutes at the beginning of a game. And so set that aside, but when it comes to the end of a period, you're up 1 or 2 goals. You don't have a sniper that you can depend on all the time. Why is he not saying to the guys, look, let's lock it down. Okay, we're up. Let's finish this period strong. Let's get out of here.
How do you know he's not?
Takes.
Why do you assume he's not telling the team that? Because it doesn't work out?
Because if he's the guy making the hard decisions, if you're putting guys out there that aren't doing the job, then you sit them down. That's what his job is to make that hard decision. And I'm telling you X, Y, and Z, and you're doing A, B, and C, then you come sit by me, and then we'll deal with it
again,
after
you
that.
know what, Anthony? You're bringing up something that you're speculating on that if it is true, I don't think he will be the coach because Steve Eisen will know that.
Okay, well, how do you explain early in the season when they lost the game to San Jose, when you're up 4 goals? If you're not making your mark at the beginning of the season, how can you possibly
do you think that
make
doesn't
your mark
happen
at the end of the season?
You don't think that happens to every team in the league every year, at least once, that there's just a game that all of a sudden things go haywire?
I'm not concerned with other teams. I'm only talking about the Wings. And here's one thing I'm going to do because I didn't recognize this until late. If he comes back, I'm going to chart every time the Wings give up a goal at the beginning of a game in the last 6 minutes in a period and see where we stand. Because I'm telling you, because they're not listening to him. If they're not listening, then why are you the head coach?
Well, again,
if they're not listening, then I agree with Doug. If they're not listening, Yzerman knows, and then he probably won't be.
He won't be the head coach.
Okay, but I think it's hard to project that. And the other thing, I think a lot of people are losing focus of this. How good is this team?
Well, they were supposed to be about an 85, 86-point team.
They are a mediocre hockey team, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have potential to be better than that, and we're starting to realize some of that potential, and they've got younger players we're excited to see. I think they've taken steps to go in that right direction. But all is said and done, this team won literally half of their games. You cannot come up with a more apt description of what mediocre is than winning 41 out of 82 games. That's what they are. They're not a great team. If you want to hold them to the standard of great teams with great players, I guess do so at your own peril because this team is not a great team and doesn't have enough great players.
As far as blown leads are concerned, the Red Wings have the 10th fewest blown leads in the league this year.
All right.
I mean, so you can. I'm looking this up. I found a website that keeps track of blown leads. Now my computer's gone out.
Well, look, it's a bad computer day. Well, suffice to say, there are times and stretches this season where the Red Wings would give up goals either to start the game or to finish the game that were crushers.
Yep.
Goals happen at the end of periods that are crushers. And you know what else happens? The Red Wings score goals at the beginning and end of games that are crushers for the opposition. This is exactly a mediocre team.
But last night they had their 14th come from behind win, which is the most in the NHL.
I know.
So look, Anthony's got his theory, but I'm not sure that the data supports Anthony's theory.
But the argument then is, then why can't you get them motivated earlier on in the season to get things going as opposed to the last 3 days?
You know what that is?
It's
the argument against Stafford. All Stafford's comebacks. Remember how many people said, yeah, well, it shouldn't have been trailing to begin with.
Careful.
248-539-97.
Like if this were a really good hockey team that has no business threatening to miss the playoffs, I get the people be really upset. But when this team takes a leap from one year to the next by 11 points and takes it down literally to the last seconds to find out if you're in the playoffs or not, it's a step in the right direction.
Let me also say this, too. I am not against moving on from Derek Lalonde. I wouldn't do it for Anthony's reasons. I'm not sure Anthony's reasons are particularly valid in terms of the data supporting him. They have the most come from behind wins in the league and amongst the fewest blown leads in the league. But the San Jose game was something he can't forgive him for. And there are moments where there's the straw that breaks the camel's back. But I would have fired him right after that. If
that game was really frustrating.
There's a lot of implied dysfunction in that locker room from fans today. That the person who knows the most is Steve Yzerman. And if there's merit to any of these theories, he should be gone. But on top of that, my reason for replacing him is simply, okay, who gives us a better chance to win? Who gives us the best chance to cross the finish line? Have we seen enough from Derek Lalonde to know it's not him? If we've seen enough from him to know, I don't think that this guy can win, that I'm fine with it. It's not any single loss or motivating technique or anything like that. It's just, can I get somebody better? Well, because I'm not firing him without having, probably I need multiple solutions that I am convinced 100% are better. And Gallant has had his success, but he's been fired from numerous places. Yeah.
Some were really short stays, even
he's
though
far
he was
more defined.
Winning.
He's far more defined than Derek Lalonde.
Yeah, and Berube is the other hot name that's out there, and I get it. And here's the thing with the NHL. Happens all the time in the NHL where they'll make coaching changes early in the year, or they'll make them in the middle of the season. We've seen teams make coaching changes right around the trade deadline with teams that have been winning.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can happen with a coaching change. But I still trust Steve Yzerman to make the move if he's going to make the move, because he knows best what's going on behind the scenes. He knows best whether or not the message is getting through, and he's the guy who's responsible. Steve Yzerman is the guy responsible for putting together the roster. And will the roster he puts together for next year's team, is it going to be better, more competitive than this year's team? It better be. Can't just count that these guys, the guys like Raymond and Seider are going to be a little bit better. Veleno is going to be a little bit better. Rasmussen's going to be a little bit better. Larkin going to be a little bit better. You can't just count on that. You need to know that the guys you're bringing up are going to help improve this hockey team. Are you going to move on from all these veteran players that you have that are free agents? Are you moving on from Daniel Sprong and David Perron and Christian Fisher? Are you going to move on from Gostis?
Think about what's been suggested. Like, Lalonde's been in this league for 2 years. They've gotten better both years, but he hasn't made the playoffs. And in Detroit, this is hockey town. It's borderline unforgivable. He shouldn't be punished for the 6 years that preceded that. We've had Bob Bugner suggested today, who's been in the league.
He's come up twice.
He's coached in the league 5 years and never made the playoffs.
Well, clearly the roster does have to get better next year, Gator, but Steve Yzerman didn't make any real big moves this trade deadline, and for whatever reason, because he said he liked the depth they had, whatever. Maybe Steve Yzerman thought this roster was good enough to make the playoffs, and Derek Lalonde didn't get them there. To me, it's not about there has to be someone better. If you don't believe the guy you have is not good enough, move on. Yep. And your job is to go find someone better. It doesn't even matter if it's not an obvious choice, because that's his job as the GM of this team, is to go find that guy, right? All I'm saying is, if you don't believe, if Yzerman doesn't believe Lalonde's the guy, move on. That's it. I don't even care who's out there right now. You move on.
Actually, I do care. I know I do care. If the guys you want are unavailable with other teams or aren't going to leave their current positions, I don't fire the guy. I wait it out and go back at it another year with Derek Lalonde.
I disagree if you don't believe he's the guy.
Well, I don't want to bring in somebody worse. Now, you're right. There's something to get somebody, but I don't even know how he would know that after 2 years, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe he would, but
maybe
it would have to be I want a strong conviction that you've got somebody better, is I guess what I'm saying. I want strong conviction from Yzerman. I'm doing this to make the team better, not as a punitive, don't believe in this guy.
But I think if you don't believe in a guy, it's kind of like addition by subtraction. If you think this guy is not an asset,
I guess.
Then you
I guess
on.
I can hear what you're saying. I find it hard to believe, honestly, as I talk this through, that he wouldn't have access to some pretty damn good coaches, being Steve Yzerman. But if he brings him back, that says a lot about where he stands with Derek Lalonde. 248-539-9797. More of your phone calls and feedback coming up. Question about an announcement that's coming tomorrow. We'll get to that today at 12:05 here on 97.1 The Ticket. Bet the NBA play-in tournament with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or already have an account. You get bonus bets back if your same-game parlay doesn't win on any Tuesday night matchup. NBA same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance to score a bigger payday. However you want to play, just head to FanDuel.com/Doug to bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay. Wow, Golden State's out. FanDuel.com/Doug. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Michigan. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Maximum refund is $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problems? Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. Going back to our previous conversation, I hate the door number 2 option But the truth is, yes, if you know this guy isn't the guy, you got to move on and take door number 2. If you know what you have right now isn't getting it done. But I really want a solid decision from a guy who should know, a guy who has a finger on the pulse of the organization is Steve Yzerman, who, by the way, this is about the most locked up organization that I've ever seen in Detroit sports as far as getting information out of it. Steve Yzerman is running a tight-ass ship over there, and it is hard to get information out of the Red Wings. It's much easier to get information out of other organizations.
Well,
he is running a tight ship.
And we're going to find out that Scott Harris is the same with what he does with the Tigers. But yes, Yzerman is nobody knows. Nobody has any idea.
248-539-9797. Let's go to Dan next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Dan.
Yeah, hi. I'm listening to you guys this morning, and I'm just thinking back. When you look at the sign of Patrick Kane this year and bring him on, you're believing that you have a possibility of making the playoffs. Otherwise, I don't think he would have came here to begin with. So my feeling is they lost this season at the trade deadline. They should have made a move for a defenseman. The defenseman that they had, I've been saying this all year when I call in. If you watch the last month and a half and watch Petrie out there, he's a cone. He's horrible. Just in these Montreal games, him standing in front of the net, clueless on covering players, cost the Wings several goals. And my feeling is, when you look at our minor league players like Edvinsson, who came up and played well, Albert Johansson, he is a defensive defenseman, and he has played very well in Grand Rapids. I would rather have someone like him up, younger, stronger, faster, defensive defenseman. He's not a puck carrier. He's not a Wallman. He's not a Gossenbear. He's a defensive, stay-at-home defenseman, which is what we needed.
Thank you, Dan. Let's go to Robin next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hi, Robin.
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's up?
Quick comments on the roster. Andrew Kopp, $5 million a year, 13 goals, huge disappointment, right around 30 years old. We're stuck with him unless we can trade him or eat some of his salary. It's just another example of a bad signing by Yzerman, who I have great respect for. But you look at him and Petrie and Gostisbehere, the Red Wings are slow. You've got Yzerman, arguably one of the fastest players in the league. He rarely dumps the puck. Otherwise, the strategy of Lalonde is to dump and chase. And when you're slow, you're not going to be the first to the puck.
Robin, thank you. We go to Tyler next on 97.1 The Ticket. Hello, Tyler.
Hey, guys. So back in 2017 when Joe was closing and Steve Yzerman was in town at the time as the GM for Tampa, every fan that was there, including myself, was screaming for him to come back home. Now he's home, and it's been nothing but a disappointment. Do we just have to lose faith in Steve Yzerman if he doesn't fire Malone this offseason? Because that's where I'm at right now. I don't trust it.
Has it been nothing but a disappointment? Because they've gotten better every year, haven't they?
They've gotten better, but he's not. You can't have Malone, who is not talking good to the press. He's making me lose faith in himself, as well as if Steve Yzerman is keeping him around, then I've got to lose faith in Steve Yzerman too, because you got to get rid of this coach. Otherwise, the team will implode on itself like it always has been for the last 8 years now.
Well, they haven't had talent.
Hold on.
This team is not employed.
And Lalonde has nothing to do with the previous 6 years. He took over a team, had 80 points, came back the next year, had 91 points. Is that a team that's imploding under Lalonde?
As of right now, did you not see the eight game losing streak?
Did you not see the last 3 games where they fought their asses off and won in overtime?
I mean, I saw the whole season, believe me, but I saw the 7 game losing streak, and I saw the winning streaks mixed in as well. The unbelievable play at the turn of the new year. It's all part of the entire resume. If that streak is the biggest thing? I mean, that to you unforgivable. Got to go. Captain's down, flu's okay. Captain's down, injured, flu going through the locker room. Got to go. If that's your, I mean, I would take more into consideration but you're not.
Yeah, I'm not certain Derek Lalonde is the right guy. And I think you feel the same way. You're not certain.
I'm not certain either.
But
I mean, he just called the Yzerman era nothing but a disappointment. Okay, now there was COVID seasons mixed in here, but these are the point totals over the last 5 years: 39, 48, 74, 80, 91. Now, slow and steady progress isn't nearly as exciting and it doesn't instill faith as much as turning it around just like that. But there was a mess under Ken Holland that needed to get cleaned up. Now, but when you are slow and steady, you lose benefit of the doubt if there's a step back. And I feel like next year is the first year where we could be legitimately talking about replacing Steve Yzerman.
Well, he talked about Andrew Kopp, and this is a guy who Yzerman signed to a long-term deal. He's got 3 more years left on the deal at $5.6 million per season. It's a lot of money for someone that has not been a big-time producer in his career. You know, when he came to the Red Wings, his high point total in the season was 39 points with Winnipeg. And he had shown that he was in and out of the lineup a lot with injuries. Comes to the Red Wings, has his career high in points last year with 42 points. Played all 82 games. This year he played 79 games and had 33 points. It seems like it's a lot of money to pay for somebody that's not even a point every other game guy. So I understand the frustration with a signing there. And there are some other signings that he had that you're like, okay, but they weren't long-term. This is a long-term one that this one might bite him a little bit unless Kopp's got a lot more to give. But, yeah, the fact is they got a bunch of free agents right now that they have to make decisions on this offseason, and I'm not sure you can make a strong case for any of them to come back.
Ed is next on 97 A Ticket. Hi, Ed.
Hi. Thanks for taking the call.
Sure.
Who's the Scotty Bowman of 2024? Can we find them? Are they out there?
I think Scotty Bowman is a unicorn. The greatest coach in NHL history, and good luck.
Yeah, well, we need a new coach. I don't know. God, can Yzerman go coach him?
Well, he's running the team. I'll let him run the team. I think. Look, do you trust Steve Yzerman?
As a player, yes. As a GM, I don't know. Because I mean, he did well with the last organization he came from, but I want to see him win. But they just don't do it. I don't know what happened. I just don't know.
Well, they're winning more every year under him.
Yeah, they have gotten better.
They need a new coach. Someone that inspires his players.
All right, you're killing us with the win, but thank you, Bobby. You're next on 97 A Ticket. Hi, Bobby.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay.
Listen, I've been watching this organization for about 40 years, and I'm not into it like everybody else is, but from my standpoint, Yzerman is doing a decent job. I wasn't even watching the last 7 or 8 years. Yzerman got credentials, okay? He won Stanley Cups, so people need to shut up. Quit calling in like you know what he's doing. You basically got to have some luck, too, when you're drafting and signing players. You're talking about money. You got to consider money. Great drafts. Detroit got screwed out of a couple of drafts, I heard, a couple of years ago. So what are you going to do about that? They can't do what the Knights are doing, like cherry-picking great players off of all of the other teams. So how in the hell what you expect out of the guy? He's got to have money issues. He's got to have the money issues together. He's got to have the draft, and he's got to sign great veterans. So what is everybody expecting? If they're improving, how do you go and fire the coach, hire another coach, get another GM?
You know what it is, Bobby? I hear you, and I'm kind of with you on this. I think what happens is it's the recency bias. It's what happened, once the losing started. They had a winning streak of 6 straight games, and then they lost, 8 out of the next 9 games, and found themselves from a place where they were 8 points in front of the wild card spot to dropping down. Oh my God! Now they're in a race to even be in the wild card spot, and they kind of limped through it. At one point they had lost. They went 5-15 in a 20-game span before they won the last 3 games of the season. So it's that. That's what has people saying enough is enough. Instead of taking the step back, take a deep breath and look and see, was enough progress made to bring the coach back?
248-539-9797. All right. Big reveal tomorrow. I got a question about the new Lions uniforms we'll get to at 12:05. 97.1 The Ticket. Well, it's been quite a show. Some of the clock has struck midnight with Yzerman. Some people, the clock has struck midnight with Lalonde. Others are feeling actually decent about the steps forward. Look, it was a hell of a ride, the roller coaster. It was fun to care about hockey this much again this late in the season. And yet it feels to me like the Red Wings are one of the top 8 teams in the East and managed to not make the playoffs, which is a result of, I was thinking back, and I'm like, okay, what ultimately cost this team? The overall talent level on this roster doesn't compare to some other teams, clearly. And when you have that kind of situation, your margin for error is less. And ultimately, that one terrible stretch where they weren't even dangerous. It was weird how bad they played in that stretch, but it coincided with Larkin being out, flu going through the locker room, and really the Larkin injury, they just didn't have the margin for error to withstand that. Withstand that. So, that's unfortunately where they are. That shouldn't always be the case. This is a rebuild. I think you're looking at, the Lucas Raymond emergence this year, Simon Edmondson, they're going to help a lot, but they're going to lose some stuff. Veterans that did provide something. But it is kind of time to see some of Yzerman's guys, all the praise coming in. The Athletic has it the second best organization in terms of pipeline in hockey. ESPN has it the 4th. So some of those guys need to start making positive impacts. Edmondson was a great addition late in the year. So the Red Wings will have him for a full season next year. And then what's their next great addition? Is it Carter Mazur? Is it Marco Kasper? Albert Johansson? Who is it? Is it Pelika?
Nate Danielson?
Yeah, because the clock is kind of ticking here on Yzerman. Like I said, some people it's struck midnight. My guess is in reality, it's not anywhere close to midnight yet, but that could happen next year if they take a step back, and they might. If they're breaking in young players, the problem with breaking in young players is there are growing pains.
Well, they're young players, yeah. And you get that when you give them that opportunity. They need the opportunity, but at the same time, they're not going to be stepping in and being a veteran presence.
No, they're not, because they're just by definition, they're not.
Yeah.
But if they step in and they're Edmondson, let's face it, Edmondson was a positive impact.
Yeah.
He had a positive impact. Red Wings do have their own draft pick. They had the Boston pick that they had translates to Ottawa as part of the DeBrincat deal. So Red Wings will be picking most likely 15th. But anyway, 248-539-9797. We'll get back to your phone calls. Gator, there's an announcement coming tomorrow. And the Jets unveiled their new uniforms over the weekend. The Lions will unveil their new uniforms tomorrow. And the Jets kind of have a subtle throwback look, but it's pretty subtle. Not a radical change. Not a whole new identity. Do you want the Lions' new uniforms to be a radical change, or do you want it to be subtle? Because it feels as though they've always sort of maintained a similar look. There hasn't been a lot of radical change. Sometimes when uniform changes take place, you kind of go, wait, who's that? Who? You don't know just by seeing it. But do you want to, when these uniforms get unveiled, do you want to know immediately, yep, that's our familiar Detroit Lions, and maybe even ask, okay, what's the change? Like, do you want it more subtle or do you want more radical?
I'm not sure. The only thing that's really changed over the years is putting the lion on the helmet, and then they've made a little slight adjustment to now you got the angry fang in there or whatever with the but that's been a dozen years since that happened, it feels like. So I like the Lions uniforms. I've never had an issue with them. I like the color scheme. I like when they go throwback and it's just kind of plain. I like that look to it. I love the new helmet they introduced this year. Love the new helmet they introduced
It's
this
probably
year.
one of the more radical things they've done.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's going to be part of it, or is it just the jersey itself? I mean, I'm guessing probably just the jersey that changes. I don't even know. I mean, radical to me would say you're changing colors.
Yeah.
If you're going to change colors completely, or are you going to add a color that isn't there now, or are you going to change up the percentage of the Honolulu blue versus the silver? I don't know. I know it's a wishy-washy answer, but I'm eager to see what they're going to do. I don't know what I want them to do, because sometimes a bold-ass change can look amazing, and sometimes can look like a clown show. I mean, like we had the last big uniform change was the Pistons when they went to the Horsehead, right?
Yeah.
And that was,
which, by the way, is a serious moment in time. The Pistons went to a Horsehead, which
yeah, right.
It sounds hilarious.
I mean,
but everybody who lived through it knows exactly what we're talking about.
Flames coming out of the exhaust, and once you looked at it, but that was like an acquired taste that took 20 years after they dumped it for people to actually appreciate it.
I know, right?
And even then, it's like, well, they had the two versions. They had the teal one, and then they had like the red jerseys. And the red jerseys, actually, looking back, was pretty sweet. But the teal was just the wrong time to bring out teal, because everybody had teal.
Mm-hmm.
The Pistons have changed. They've got a bunch of different jerseys now, the 313 and all this stuff. And they had the St. Cecilia's jerseys. I actually like those new ones. But they're just alternate jerseys. You still have your original.
Yeah, in the NBA, they've kind of gone crazy with jerseys. But
so I don't know what they'll do to be just slightly different. Do they go to white instead of the silver? I can't imagine. I don't know what it's going to look like.
The teaser videos, it looks like it's going to be subtle. It looks like it's hard to tell. Kang, what do you want?
I want to know it's the Lions still.
Okay. You want subtle.
No, you could still be drastic, and I think know the lines. Maybe that's just keeping the color scheme pretty damn close to what it is. But I want to know that it's the Lions. Like wow, that's the Lions. Or all right, that looks like the Lions. I just want to know. The Honolulu blue and silver. I like those colors. Maybe it's because the only colors I kind of grew up and you throw in the black and all the gray, all stuff. But we all know. The main colors are Honolulu blue and silver. So for me, as long as they don't go drastic, which I don't think they will, I don't need to see, red and purple or something. You know what I mean? I mean, that to me is drastic. I think if they keep the same color scheme, I'm fine with it, because I like change. I think changing uniforms and helmets, I think that's fun in sports.
The teaser video that the Lions put out, it feels like blue pants is something that's going to be with a big white stripe down the side, is what one thing looks like. One of the changes looks like. The other thing is it doesn't look like they're touching the helmets. It looks like the helmet with the helmet logo is staying the same. But we will find out tomorrow. With that said, let's take 10 texts right now. 10 texts right now at 248-539-9797. What do you want these Lions uniforms to look like when they get revealed tomorrow? Do you want subtle, or do you want dramatic change? First 10 texts, 248-539-9797. You want a subtle change, or do you want dramatic change to the Lions uniforms? We'll get to your 10 texts coming up. Make sure you sign your text. Also, people still venting about the Red Wings, obviously, and we got a Tiger game to preview this afternoon. Looks moderately optimistic that this one will start on time. It's Carson Anderson. Open lines, 10 texts. You want subtle or dramatic change to the Lions uniforms? We'll get to that coming up today at 12:15 here on Carson Anderson on 97.1 The Ticket. Hey, the Detroit sports calendar is full. Baseball, draft, all coming up. Pick your favorite Stoli vodka flavor this summer and pair it with refreshing lemonade to enjoy while you watch. Make it the summer of Stoli. Celebrate with a Stoli blueberry and lemonade, or maybe try a Stoli vanilla espresso martini. No matter what you drink, remember this, Stoli, your premium vodka. Whether it's at a game or on your backyard patio, or you're rooting for your favorite player to be drafted, Stoli Vodka has you covered. Pick up a bottle of Stoli Vodka today, and as always, Stoli asks that you please drink responsibly. Tiger baseball coming up this afternoon. We'll get to the Tigers coming up. Still people venting about the Red Wings, and I get it. It's wild, though, the range of emotion. Some people are grateful for having important hockey back in Detroit and excited about the future. Others are pissed and want people fired. Oh, man. It's definitely a lot of different ways to see what just happened, but last night, the last couple of weeks, what a roller coaster. Because there are times the Red Wings look great and perfectly worthy and on their way to being a playoff team. And then other times, it just feels like they blew it. 248-539-9797. All right, we mentioned that the Lions' new uniforms are getting revealed tomorrow. Do you want subtle change or you want dramatic change?
So I'm looking at the video again,
Yep.
and that the Detroit Lions tweeted out yesterday, ready for our close-up, and there's like these little teases, of what the uniform is going to look like. And I pause it right when they show the back nameplate of Jared Goff, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I went and looked up Goff jersey on Google Image, and the current ones they have, and you could tell definitely the font they use is different on the back of the jersey. Now just look at the O. It's got like instead of circular, it's not it's got straight edges on the corners, I guess you could call them, or whatever, where they start to turn. And in the current jersey, it's circular.
It's an octagon
Yes.
O versus a normal.
So you could tell
oval.
right off the bat that's going to be changed. And then the blue looks darker, and I have no idea if that's a video or a darkness thing, but the blue looks darker than the normal Honolulu blue. It almost looks like a Rams blue. You see what I'm saying?
No,
Gator?
it's like a more of a
Yeah.
I see. It looks more like a Cowboys blue.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what doesn't have a circular O? Is the word Bronco on the Ford Bronco. Remember there was, so is it the font? Is it the Bronco font? Now you can get a Bronco that says Ford on the front or a Bronco that says Bronco on the front, but it is a octagon O and not a circular.
I think I said that last week, Gator, when
You
we were
did,
talking
yeah.
about it. I think because they said they were going to maybe a Bronco incorporated into the uniforms.
Well, anyway, we asked people, do you prefer a subtle change or do you want a more dramatic change when these things get unveiled tomorrow? What are you hoping for? JMO says very little change. Need to bring back the black jerseys. Dream scenario is they drop them with JMO switching to number 1. Dan writes in dramatic with those blue helmets. I wouldn't mind if the blue helmets became the regular helmets. I love that helmet.
With the elongated lion,
Yeah.
the old logo.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm
Crawling.
a huge fan of that.
That logo is crawling right out of the 1960s. Let's go to subtle. Let's go subtle back to the Barry Sanders era jerseys, but updated. Now they had sparkly silver numbers back then too when Barry first broke them. Get rid of the baby blue. Get rid of baby blue. Dramatic change. That's from Tom. Subtle. Fix the number font and sleeves. Good to go. That's from Nathan and Howell. Mike writes in dramatic change. Honolulu blue is an awful color. Needs to be a darker blue. Dylan says subtle change, nothing crazy. Mark and Lansing, I want a subtle change. Don't change any colors, but let's add some new style to what we have. Charlie in a classroom. Let's go major change. Time to spice it up. Next one. Give me something dramatic, subtle. Give me something dramatically subtle. I want to be shaken but not stirred, Shake and bake, baby. That's Ricky Bobby. P.S. If you ain't first, you last. Thank you, Ricky. We all can relate to Ricky Bobby this year. Sure. We all referenced Ricky Bobby this year. 248-539-9797. Let's go to Mike in Royal Oak here on 97 on a ticket. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
What's up?
Well, I saw something on the internet that caught my eye the other day. Check this out. How about the working around the helmet? And I seen a dark blue helmet, kind of like with the new logo on it. But it was a full lion, but the lion was white with blue trim on the inside.
Yeah.
It's sharp.
I am a big fan, actually, of white helmets. I kind of wondered about putting a white helmet on the Lions.
I ain't mad at it.
Yeah. So, but you had it with the white. You had a dark blue with a white lion, actually, right?
Yeah, dark blue with a white lion.
I'm not mad at that either.
And
play some like 90s hair metal in the background in honor of the band White Lion.
Yeah, but I just caught a glimpse of it on the internet, and I thought it looked really sharp. But if I could just add something about the Red Wings and the Lions real quick.
Sure.
I think it's real similar path with the Red Wings, because remember how disappointed we were when the Lions started so bad and came on like gangbusters and just missed the playoffs, but we all knew the next year was going to be the year because they were ready. And I think the Red Wings are going along that same path, and I'll let you guys go. Thanks for the time.
Well, I mean,
They didn't start bad. They started really good this year. Red
The
Wings
2022 season, though, served as a springboard into 2023 for the Lions. I'm really, honestly, I'm hesitant to say that the 2023-24 Red Wings are springboarding into next year. I wish I was more confident of that. But I feel like, and this is why I'm giving Yzerman another year. I'm comfortable giving Lalonde another year. But it strikes me that there could be a step back. What Lalonde said, even though I don't want him saying it, could be true. And if that's the case, then there might be time to move on. These young players need to hit the ground running for him.
Yeah, if there's a step back, then people need to go. I mean, that's the truth.
No.
I don't think you can have growth like what the Lions had. They just can't do that. They don't have the talent level the Lions had last year going into the season. It's different. I think what the Red Wings have going for them is similar to what the Tigers have going for them. You'll see improvement, and maybe it's enough to make you a playoff team for this upcoming season. But, the previous caller said they didn't start. The Red Wings started out very well, and then they had a stretch of games in December where they were awful. And then they got hot, and then they got awful again. And then they were mediocre, limping through the rest of the season. I think they finished 7-7 in the last 14 games or something after that awful lose 8 out of 9 game stretch. It wasn't enough. There's a bunch of reasons. Like the funny thing is with the Red Wings, you can be mad at a number of different people. You can be mad at the NHL for having a stupid rule about the tiebreaker being, regulation wins instead of, I don't know, maybe just wins, because Red Wings had more wins than Washington, but Washington did more in regulation. I don't know why it matters, but it does. You can be mad at Philadelphia because they jumped the gun and pull in the goaltender. I don't really care about that as much, but okay, fair enough. You can be mad at Boston for not beating Washington when they had the chance on Saturday to put this into effect. But in the end, I'm mostly mad at the Red Wings themselves for not taking care of business at home a week ago Tuesday when they faced Washington, who was right here. You needed to win the game, and they outplayed Washington thoroughly. But Washington ends up with a couple of goals, one with 7 seconds left in the second period, and they win the game 2-1. That, to me, is the most damning. It's on the team because they had their chances. They could have done it again the following Thursday against Pittsburgh.
Well, there's multiple things, right? Yeah. There's a losing streak. There's the 2 losses to Arizona. Yep. We do have a massive breaking story in the world of sports that impacts. Well, I think everyone's going to be talking about this.
So let's talk about it.
Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN has just tweeted out the NBA has leveled a lifetime ban on Jontay Porter for gambling.
You go.
Jontay Porter was with the Toronto Raptors, and there was a ton of money that came in on some parlays with him on under totals. And one game, I think both games he played in and then left.
Yeah.
For aggravating injuries.
Yes.
Adrian Wojnarowski follows up with, per league statement, the league's investigation found that prior to the Raptors' March 20th game, Porter disclosed confidential information about his own health status to an individual he knew to be an NBA bettor. Another individual with whom Porter associated and knew to be an NBA bettor subsequently placed an $80,000 parlay proposition bet with an online sports book to win $1.1 million, wagering that Porter would underperform in the March 20th game. Now, I think he had an eye injury. Was that the game he left with an eye injury?
Yeah, can I go? I got something in my eye.
Yep.
All right, sure.
So
Jonathan.
if somebody wagered an $800,000 bet on you to come under assists, rebounds, and points, That bet only counts if you play, you enter the game, you re-aggravate your eye injury, leave the game before you accumulate much of any stats, the under hits. More from Woj. Per the NBA, in addition, from January through March 2024, so this year, January through March, while traveling with the Raptors or the Raptors 905, which is their G League affiliate, Porter placed at least 13 bets on NBA games using an Associates online betting account. These bets ranged in sizes from $15 to $22,000 for a total of $54,094.
I'm sorry, what was that range?
Between $15 and $22,000.
Well, that's quite a range.
Yes. The total payout from these bets was $76,059, resulting in a net winnings of $21,965. None of the bets involved any games in which Porter played. But he bet on the NBA.
Can't do it.
Lifetime ban.
Well, I mean, the NBA acted pretty swiftly on this one, and this is a massive penalty to face. Now, this isn't a star of the league by any means, but what they're doing is setting the example while they can. This will not be tolerated. You cannot do this. And they have to. They 100% have to. The NBA has already had enough problems in the past with, improprieties from whether it's officials or from players or whatever. And it goes back to college days too. It's a sport that people can throw, and they got to nip it in the bud, because as they've gotten in bed with the gambling situation, you have to keep the integrity of the game above all else. So this had to happen. I'm glad they did it. And hopefully this is the last you hear about it, but I don't think it will be.
Probably won't. But I wonder how many players in leagues all over the place are sweating bullets right now. They're like, oh, crap. And by the way, to think that, what did we say, $800,000 bet on the unders for a little-used player wouldn't raise red flags?
It was $80,000, right, to win over $1 million? Was that it?
Yeah, it was 80,000. Yeah.
80,000. But you're right. 80,000. $80,000 is a ton of money.
Did you just put $80,000 on under 3 rebounds?
And parlayed it.
Right,
because that wasn't enough.
Right. Sorry. You end up winning $1.7 million. That's impressive.
Well, the thing is, Michael Porter Jr. is his brother that plays in the league right now, and he's not a bench guy. He got like a max extension recently.
I'm sure he's really appreciative of this.
But this is the fear. It's not, you don't fear the big time guys doing it because they make so much money. The fear is guys like this doing it. The guys that know they don't really have
the
a
guy
future.
that doesn't have the $40 million contract.
Could you imagine, though, some Piston fan putting $80,000 on Jared Roden to go under assists, rebounds, and points late in the year? $80,000 on a little-used player.
In unrelated news, the entire Pistons roster has been banned, not because of gaming or anything like that. It's because they're terrible. Because this guy's a terrible player. He's not going to be in the league that much longer, so he's like, you know what? I'm going to try to capitalize on what I can, I guess.
Did he know the time was coming?
The Pistons were still making moves right up to the last game of the year. I mean, still signing guys to we got him to a 10-day contract. Like, what are you doing?
Wow. Carson Anderson, Tiger Baseball coming up this afternoon, 97.1 The Ticket.
Well, the weather has changed. We got spring here and summer's on the way. You want to make sure your house is all ship-shape and ready to go. And maybe it's not. Maybe you got leaks all throughout and you're figuring this out because of the rain that we're getting. Well, the red, white, and blue trucks, they're on their way. You don't want to get caught with a flooded basement or a scorching hot house this year. Make sure you call Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. Frank's the owner's got a great deal going on all spring long. All customers get a free tankless water heater included with the purchase of a full furnace and air conditioning package. That's a great deal. So whether you got that flood in your basement or an AC unit that just won't turn on, call Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. Or you can schedule an appointment online at birminghamplumbingco.com. Birmingham Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Metro Detroit boiler experts.
Well, lost in all the anxiety and frustration from the Red Wing result last night, that roller coaster ride. And that was, I mean, honestly, I wish I could appreciate it more for what it was in a, hey, it was great to feel that way again. You don't win them all. And that's one of the things that makes the winning so great is the losing does hurt. And unfortunately, the Red Wings lost on this playoff chase. And gave us some thrills along the way. I know that one of the things that happens at Sports Talk Radio was just out of town, and I'm always reminded of this. Is it's often it turns into these battles of who has higher standards and higher expectations. Whatever your feelings are, I kind of feel like that's how you feel. They're valid. We did care again about hockey in Detroit, and for that, I'm excited about. We always, some of you always cared, but cared right down to the end where it drew people in. The last couple of days, we just said Red Wings, open up the phones and people called. That hasn't been the case in a while. Okay? So it's good to have that level of care back. Hopefully they can capitalize on this, and it is a springboard. I'm not sure it will be, but I hope it is. But lost in all that, Gator was a Tigers win yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They got better pitching again. It's a third start for Casey Mize. He was better this time than he was last time. He was better last time than he was the first start. So that's good to see. Went another 6 innings. The bullpen doing their lockdown job that they've done. Kerry Carpenter, crushes a ball that ends up getting ruled as a triple. He also crushed one for a double. That provided the offense, and that they were able to push across a couple of runs late in the game and come from behind and win. And I'm here. I love it. Here we go, Tigers. Were they 10-7 now to start the season?
It's a great tweet came out from Tiger beat writer Evan Woodbury, who covers the team. See, I'm live. He's live. Yep. Tigers won their 10th game on April 16th. Last year, they won their 10th game on April 29th. The year before, they won their 10th game on May 13th. The year before that, they won their 10th game on May 8th. We have documented the horrific starts.
Yeah.
And they have been epically bad. In the 3 previous seasons, the Tigers have been 24 games under 500 in the months of March and April. 24 games. If you think about ever moving from whatever you are, 8 games over 500 in a month or 8 games under 500 a month, those are dramatic movements. And they managed to start each of the past 3 seasons averaging 8 games under 500. It is so refreshing. It's funny, just coming off the Red Wing topic, it's so refreshing to have a baseball team get off to this kind of start. Their flaws are well documented. They were somewhat predictable going into this year. And they've taken a team that has a pretty major flaw offensively and gotten off to a 10-7 start. Now, they've done it in part feasting off the worst in the league, but they play some of those teams quite a bit, like the White Sox. And so continue to try and feast and hang around. And the justifiable thing to do is to get to the trade deadline with a chance to maybe add a piece. I don't want to get my hopes too high because it seems as though they're kind of slow and steady themselves, but maybe, just maybe, they would justify it. But I'm happy with a 10-7 start.
Yeah, I'm very happy with a 10-7 start. It's interesting that you've got Cleveland and Kansas City are ahead of them in the standings, because I think before the season everybody's like, oh, it's Minnesota, Detroit, but right now it's a 3-horse race, and Minnesota's not one of the 3 horses. So that's intriguing. We'll see who's got the longevity in this, but I think always looking long term, good pitching is going to keep you around, and the Tigers appear to have pretty good pitching. The run differential is -1, which is interesting, but that earned run average is pretty good for this team. The bullpen has been fantastic. They have multiple pitchers they can use late in games to close things out right now with Shelby Miller or Jason Foley. They've got other pitchers that have done a great job out of there. I like it. What's slow to come around, obviously, is the offense. And that's what we would like to see get back on track. Maybe there's a little bit of a sign yesterday. Guys hit the ball a little bit harder, a little bit further. May not have been out of the ballpark. Torkelson crushed a ball, but it was straightaway center field, and it's 400 feet out. That's unfortunate, but it's good to see that he does have that in him. And lately he has hit the ball harder. He's got several doubles already this season, but you want him to put the ball over the fence. So that's what he's paid to do.
A couple of players, too, that might get a call here in the next month or two. Jace Young leads Toledo with 3 home runs. Has an on-base percentage of .358, about 100 points higher than his batting average. Justin Henry Malloy has 2 home runs, and he's got an on-base percentage of .431 and a batting average of .265. Maybe there's some help down on the farm.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are guys in Toledo's playing right now, actually. But that's the question a little bit yesterday. Maybe we'll get into it later in the week about at what point do you say, as AJ Hinch or Scott Harris, look, we gotta make some changes here because we're not getting enough offense from the younger players that they can afford to send back down to the minors. You don't want to wreck their psyche, but I've always said I'm not worried about that. If you're worried about wrecking their psyche, then they don't have the right mindset to play in Major League Baseball. But Colt Keith is going to have to pull his weight. And he's done a nice job defensively, and I think that's what keeps him up here right now, for sure. Yeah,
that was the question.
Yeah, and he's gotten some sporadic hits, but waiting to see the power show up. But yeah, other guys are going to get an opportunity.
Well, Tarek Skubal has a baseball for Detroit today. This could be a shortened game by weather, so it's nice to have the ace out there that can give you maybe a complete game. So he'll be going up against Dane Dunning for the Texas Rangers, who last year had a decent year. Off to a 2-1 start this year with a 4.50 ERA. It's Tiger Baseball keeping you company throughout the afternoon. Have a great day and go Tigers. Stay safe, everyone, and treat each other with respect.